All right, I think we are live. We're on the air. Welcome to this evening here with I Can Science That. We've got Rob is back again. Rob is an instructor in astronomy. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah.
And joining us tonight is Alan. Alan is a skeptic.
That's correct. Yeah.
Alan, would you like to introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, hi. I'm my name's Alan, and man, that anxiety really sets in quick when you freeze up.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're just gonna skip on to that. Nothing too interesting, but I want to say, like, I don't hate science or anything like that. I'm not. I see you guys talk to people that are like, you can't even get them to admit that there's gravity when it's a clear thing. And I just want to say that, like, those people they're not reacting to you guys or what they're observing. They're reacting to what they see on a TV screen, and they're really mad about, and they feel they've been lied to. And I don't think that they're sure, like if they say gravity, like, they don't know what they're admitting to, you know what I mean? Kind of thing. Because they just feel so betrayed by the whole entire system. And I've been through that. Like, I'm not saying that that's not my personal experience or anything, but that's kind of how I feel about how what's been going on with the presentation of the moon landing and the ISS stuff. I sent you some videos, and you can like whether or not you believe it or however you justify that, it creates a reasonable doubt in people to where that's no longer valid. And then you compare that to world events and how politics are presented to us, and it appears to be more theatrical than you could even imagine. And then you realize, well, who pays for it and all that kind of stuff. And you go down all these different rabbit holes, and you realize, like, without having things that you can see in your natural life, like, if you can't see it, touch it, hold it, you're like, well, then, what are you talking about? You're measuring something that's negative 35 zeros or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, what does that even mean? Like, and then you look up, and so, dude, I really appreciate this so much, because I had to, I really went hard on, like, finding some really good questions and stuff and doing some really good research. I hope it's good research. But, in my eyes, it's like some pretty decent stuff. So,
Sure.
So I didn't want to have you guys explain things that I'm not going to understand, because I'm not going to be like, have you, like, verify math to me or something, but if you can explain it and it makes sense to you, like, I'll take your word for it. Like, I'm not here to convince you guys of anything. And I really appreciate that too, because, it's easily perceived that, like, you're trying to pull people back into a system of lies based on things that you believe like a story that numbers tell, right? Because you were saying how math's a language, and that was,
Yes.
what you can do with language. Like, you could tell, the truth, or you could tell lies with it. And at some point, people are like, hey man, we're gonna need to see the paperwork on this,
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say that's fair enough.
Yeah. My mother used to say there are three types of lies. There are white lies, and statistics.
Yeah.
You do hear that.
Yeah.
You do hear that. You do have to watch out for that. And sometimes people don't even do it on purpose. They just, they are so motivated to show things in a certain light that when they find a spin on the statistics that that supports them, they're going to run with that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Dumb Jezza says maths is the only language that doesn't lie.
That's not necessarily true, or a good argument.
I think he's got a point there. But the problem is, if you aren't fluent in the language of math, then someone could tell you a lie in that language and you would not know. You'd have no way of knowing that, whether that was true or false, right? Unless you can unless you can evaluate every step along the way by yourself. And I think, Alan, what you've already sort of expressed is that, hey, there's a lot of us out here, a lot of people that are not qualified to determine that. So if you told a lie using math, there is a lot of people. In fact, I would say majority of people, big fat majority of people, would just have to either take your word for it. I mean, like Einstein's field equations, right? They're famous. Einstein's field equations, very small percentage of the world can evaluate whether that's correct math or just made up, right?
Right.
Yeah, and that's something that we all have to recognize. Is then when you say something like math doesn't lie, well, to who, right? Who's able to determine that that's true?
Yeah.
So the other thing I wanted to throw out there is, Alan, I'm not gonna try to change your mind. If you believe the Earth is flat, and I think you're still saying that, right?
Well, yeah, it's hard to say, like, because you can interpret it, different ways or whatever. Because like in the media, when you look up flat Earth, you'll see a picture of like a disc floating in space or something, or like a cube or something. Just like the most literal, dumbest stuff you can think of. And then, like, I don't think it looks like any of that. So I like to be associated with that, like that. That's not what I'm thinking.
Well,
but let me give you some insight here.
What do you think it looks like?
Okay, well, here's what I think, man. So you know how water always finds its level, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it has, well, in a container. So I'm assuming we're in some sort of container, and the sea, the land masses above the sea level are just, land masses. They're not. It's not like wrapped around a globe, and like how big it is, how far it goes, like I don't know, Okay. But a popular theory in the flat Earth community, though, is like the Dave Weiss model. I don't know if it's his model but it's the one that he subscribes to the most. One's like, sorry, I'm getting really nervous.
No, don't worry about it.
Dave Weiss model. Is that the one with rings?
I think it's the Arctic basin type thing, where the ice wall type scenario. Like, there's no Antarctica; it's actually just the ice wall.
Okay, so yeah, so it's a disc shape with the North Pole in the middle,
right?
And then we live somewhere in the ring around that, and then out from that is the ice that holds it all the water in. And if you go to Antarctica, that's where you're going. It's the ice wall.
Yeah, because a lot of the points in flat Earth are about or not all of them, but a major thing that you could draw is like there's a lot of weirdness around Antarctica, like the Antarctic Treaty and how all the countries committed to. Like, I'm sure you've probably heard about it or heard like this perspective of it. But it's like they're like
it's weird.
Yeah, but you got to understand, like the Russians burn their own fields and stuff to so that or who was it? I can't remember, but it was
in Antarctica. Nobody ever
no. I'm talking about like in wars and stuff and like takeovers. Like you're dealing with people that would burn their own fields. They did. I can't remember what I'm talking about. I'm sure somebody. It was something, some Russian thing. I'm sorry. I'm trying to stay on track. Right. But you're dealing with people that wouldn't be like, oh, well, I signed this piece of paper, so I guess I can't go to Antarctica and extract resources or do whatever I want. You know what I'm talking about? So it's like,
sure. The Antarctic Treaty is an outlier, right? Anyone who's studied history of the world or history of politics, I think would agree that the Antarctic Treaty is very unusual, that so many countries would just agree to not exploit that and not fight over it. And mostly it came down to not fight over it.
Yeah. And we exclusively specialize in fighting over things and taking over.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying? Like we like, have you seen what we spend on to make submarines? It's ridiculous.
I think the reason why the Antarctic Treaty has held up for as long as it has is because no one has found anything of commercial value there. It is of tremendous scientific. There are tremendous scientific resources there, but there are no large oil fields. There's no, there are no rare earth elements as far as we know down there. So I honestly, my cynical way of looking at it is I think the reason why it's held up for so long is because of the fact that there's nothing commercially viable down there. But I agree with science in that it is amazing that in the 50s, basically the height of the Cold War, so many countries got together and said, you know what, we need to put aside all of our petty differences and make this essentially a nature preserve. And so I'm actually, this is kind of going off on a slight tangent, but I'm wondering whether or not something similar is going to happen with the moon. But
or even space.
Space, yeah.
Right now, the modern day Antarctica is space. If you believe that space even exists, there is argument and complaint because we have a similar treaty for space in that we're not going to put, we can commercialize it, but we cannot put weapons up there according to the treaty. But there's talk that some of the nations aren't abiding by it, and maybe America's gonna create the Space Force, right? You've heard of the Space Force.
That sounds so theatrical, like this country, we're not gonna follow the paper agreement, and then everyone's like, oh well, they're not gonna do it, so we got to get our laser missile or whatever they say they have. Like it's just, it's all for show, like nuclear bombs. Like I don't know if they're real or not, because if we had them, like I'm pretty sure we'd be dropping them all the time, dude.
Wait, okay, well that's a separate thing.
No, I know. I'm just saying in terms of like weapons and like, like if we have it, we use it. The military doesn't make things they don't use, right? So if there was something that they could put on the moon if there was something they could put on the moon to leverage everybody, they'd do it.
But that's what they did, right? I don't know. If you just, it is an interesting historical perspective, sort of side tangent, but just go in and check this up for me. Since the invention of nuclear weapons, no two nations who both have nuclear weapons have openly gone into conflict. Prior to the invention of nuclear weapons, conflict was everywhere. But as soon as both nations have it, there is not a historical case yet at all of two nations who go to combat.
I see what you're saying, but you're under the assumption
mutually assured destruction. And so far, it's worked. It's absolutely crazy, which is why they call it MAD.
Dude, imagine like some people got together from these countries that represent their financial interest or whatever and mechanisms of control that they pay for. So imagine they got together and they were like, hey, we can stop all this war stuff and do, everybody can get rich and we could do this or that, but you got to follow these guidelines. And like the guidelines would be just tell everyone that we could kill everyone and the whole world would end in a nuclear holocaust. And it creates all this fear. And to further go on that, if you look at videos from those early videos when they're like, oh, what to do during a nuclear attack, and it's like little Timmy knows how to survive a nuclear attack. When he hears the alarms, he hides. He just lays down. Like what are you talking about, dude? That's not so. When you in the moment when you're in that era, you're like, oh, why would they lie about that? That's pretty crazy. And then everyone gets these new bunkers and stuff. It kind of like keeps it self-perpetuating. You're like, well, my neighbor's got a bunker. I need to get a bunker, So it kind of like facilitates this atmosphere where even if there wasn't a threat, it wouldn't matter because everyone believes it.
Right. Well, just Alan, what I would just summarize that whole thing is just go and check me on this. The United States bombs people all the time. It's like our favorite thing to do. Trying not
we even give Nobel Peace Prizes to people that signed off on them all.
Right. That's right. So, but we don't bomb the Russians. We hate the Russians, but we don't bomb them. We hate the Chinese, but we don't bomb them.
Yeah.
Exactly. And who are the major players in the world?
We were about to invade North Korea. They were on the list. They were officially on the list under Bush Jr. They were next up, right? It was the axis of evil, if those of you who don't remember this.
Coalition of the Willing, Paraguay.
They were officially on the list of countries that George Bush wanted to take out. And then they tested a nuke, and all of a sudden, that's off the table now.
I mean, I've seen videos of people doing video analysis of those nuclear videos, or like the destruction and the house blowing up. And there's people that say that that's easily claymation stuff. And so again, like if I haven't seen a nuclear bomb destroy a city, and I know some people that died from it, like I don't, just because a video, like I can't accept it anymore, man. It's just not.
Let's get back to
yeah. Sorry. I didn't mean to get sidetracked.
It is related in a way, but we're getting into dangerous territory.
Yeah, you're right.
The topic is, I think the Earth is flat because.
Oh right, dude, we got so far off topic.
Yes,
we're like, so what shape do you think the Earth is? Well, some Russians burned a field, like it just went down.
Well, I think this is all related.
Yeah.
In the way that you're expressing that you really, really don't trust the government. You don't trust mainstream sources of information, media.
Well, it's not that I don't. So I don't trust them because they pretty much present everything explicitly to polarize people in everything or in every possible way, even to the point where the guy we were talking about earlier that got the Nobel Prize for the bombs, he even mentions like in a press briefing, like, well, we don't have time to talk about flat Earth. Like it's like designed to egg people on so that they get mad and argue.
Obama.
Yeah, that guy, Obama.
President Obama. Yeah, that guy.
Oh, is that his name? I forgot. I thought it was Barry or something. But anyway.
Well, his nickname is Barry.
Yeah. So anyway, what were we talking about?
I thought you were talking about.
No, that's fine. Yeah, he actually he did reference the Flat Earth Society.
Yeah. So yeah, and it's just like little stuff like that just keeps it going in the that keeps it like it brings it into people, and then people are like, oh, we're these dumb flat earthers, like science art, and then you get YouTube videos made by people that use the dumbest arguments or that can't perceive like being lied to or how that could be fake, and they think that just because like they read a number on a screen, they're like, you guys are all dumb, of course this number means, so you get a lot of that,
Yeah.
I agree, and I think I am not a fan of Neil deGrasse Tyson for a number of reasons, and I think
with his mic drop shit. Oh, sorry. They egg us on, and then the same guy that goes.
I like him, but yeah, I know a lot of people don't.
And then the same guy that drops the mic and acts like he's like the smartest thing in the world will turn around and go in another podcast will be like, well, what's gravity? And then he'll be like, well, the thing is, like he'll say that instead of saying like something reasonable. Like he presents it as if like, well, we don't know, and like it's all made up. Like he presents it that way, and the people that are already like onto, skeptical, like read that as like, oh, so they're all just because like he's representing you guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I hear what you're saying in that there are certain science communicators out there. He would be my prime example that are polarizing in the sense that they are easily dismiss opposing viewpoints. So they'd rather, in my opinion, ridicule than educate. And that ultimately is going to make the situation worse because it's going to, and no one's going to change their mind because you've been belittled into changing your mind. Right. You're right. It further reinforces it. Yeah. So
every time they do that in the media, it's just like, oh, so you guys are lying and you think you're fucking. Oh, and you guys think you're funny, making a mockery of everyone that doesn't know. But and to answer Dumb Jez's question, no, I'm a citizen. I was doing a joke about pretending not to know. It was a joke.
Obama wasn't that long ago.
Yeah. It was like, who's that guy that did a bunch of bad stuff, and then everyone was like, "Oh, he's a great guy, though," And then like I make the association. It's just I think it's a funny way to do it.
Yeah,
I agree with Lenny play. We need to attack the misunderstanding and not the people itself or themselves.
Yeah. Now I do really like Neil deGrasse Tyson. I like him. I like his style.
Have you met him?
But there are times that I totally can see what you're saying. He does rub a lot of people the wrong way. Like when he did the mic drop, I guess a lot of the flat earthers found that, dismissive. Obviously, it was dismissive. I thought, and as a not flat earther, I took it a different way. I took it as he was engaging with the popular media in the popular media way. It was B.O.B., a rapper who had done a rap song about this, and so Neil deGrasse Tyson did his rebuttal.
Well, actually,
I thought was cool.
I have some insight onto that though. He didn't even address what B.O.B. was talking about. He made like a false argument about it.
Maybe.
No, it's not maybe. Like if you look into it, he for real did, and it's not like I'm not trying to do that to you and like correct you, but
that's fine.
He misrepresented it, and didn't even, and then that misrepresentation makes people think like, why can't you even discuss what you're talking about? I mean, why can't you address the actual point? You're not. Why is it's fake? It's a fake reply. Like it was a straw man situation. Because he was. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say that the model that as an educator, or as a hopefully to be a popular educator, the model that I go by is actually Bill Nye and his debate with, and I've forgotten his name. I want to say Ken Hovind, but it's not Ken Hovind. It's the guy who built the Ark in Kentucky.
Isn't that Ken Hovind?
No, it's Ken something, I think.
There's another Ken. There's two Kens. Or
Ken
and Kent.
There's Kent Hovind, and then there's Ken something. I'm sure I could Google it, but he had I think a 2-hour-long debate with this gentleman about creationism and young Earth. I think it was young Earth creationism. And you could tell that, Bill Nye was getting frustrated with the way the discussion was going, but he never got dismissive. He was never disrespectful. And neither was the creationist either.
I remember that. I watched that on YouTube, and I thought the same thing. I was like, that was actually, I know exactly what you're talking about, man. I really, that resonated the same way with me.
And Bill Nye got a lot of flack for actually having the debate at all, because he was accused of giving this gentleman a more national or a larger platform from which to speak. But that's the model by which I go by.
Yeah. I agree with that. So I wanted to throw at you, Alan, this summary, if I can, of sort of what I think where you're coming from, which is that the science folks will hit you with something that you cannot verify on your own. You cannot. And so it comes down to a matter of trust. You are in a position, and I think ultimately we all kind of are. We're in a position where we have to choose who to trust. On the one hand, we got the science people, and on the other hand, we have I don't know what you want to call them exactly. Let's just say the flat earth people, right? We got the flat earth people and the science people, and you just have to choose who to trust because you just don't know who's telling the truth. Is that about fair?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I reply to some comments real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, so
take it away.
Do you advocate that the Earth is flat or whatever? If you go to there used to be globalist. There used to be a website you could go to. I'm sure you could probably find it, but it's like military manuals that refer to the flat Earth, and it's basically every manual from like radar, radio, calculating, missile stuff. It says it's all based on a flat stationary plane model, and so I don't know what that means for you guys because I know you were talking about frame of reference stuff or whatever. And people say that it's not possible to calculate that stuff on a spinning ball. That's why they need the flat model. So when you say do I advocate it? Well, from my point of view, the military manuals advocate it. so I'm just going off what they say and what water does. Like, that's for that. And so the other guy said every government has a space program. Well, all these governments are all funded by the same people. They're all in debt. And they just print up, fake money and inject it wherever. And there's people in America that are going on 4th generation welfare. So like the idea that they have all these employees, they must be doing something. Like, yeah, I'm sure people are making stuff, but you're acting like they have to make a product and like make a profit or something. And they really don't. And you could argue, so you guys are saying like a big thing that you hear from NASA's end is like, oh, we don't have the money to do the blah blah blah, right? And then do you know who never has any problem with the blah or getting money for the blah blah blah? The military. For like if they need a new have you seen our, like we were talking earlier about the sub, what they spend on subs? I forget what it is, but it's crazy. It's in the billions. And but a submarine's a real thing that people use. You get on it, so in my eyes, if the space industry and stuff were real, like it would probably take over all production. Like everything would be about that. You know what I mean?
Why?
Because going to space would be the most that's it, right? That's the whole goal of all this.
The goal, no.
Well,
like to go to Mars and all that. Well, I mean, that's what Elon Musk is telling everyone, that we're trying to colonize and terraform. Like, so they're marketing it as like we got to go explore everything. And if that was possible, well, when people were like, "Hey, I got this boat that can take us to a different continent," nobody had trouble making a boat or like funding that project. No, I know what you're thinking. Well, Christopher Columbus. Well, that's something you read in a book, man. Like who knows, man?
Well,
who knows?
I would say it's a little bit different because there's nothing on Mars that we can't get here. So, and it's very, very expensive and difficult to get anything that's on Mars back here. So it's not a good commercial venture yet. Although I think we are going to see asteroid mining happen pretty soon. And you're going to see that there are a few efforts to get that going.
I challenge you to set like a time frame for what you would expect, at least to see like some results for that. Like set a hard date on a calendar so you remember, because it's probably going to be years from now. And just
soon,
I was thinking like maybe 10 or 15, because but yeah. So anyway, we'll set a calendar for 30 years from now, and if you happen to still have the calendar, man, like see where they're at, because I would bet they're nowhere closer than what they show us now.
Yeah, Dumb Jezza agrees 2050.
So that's I think a fairly complicated question, because again, depending on your worldview, from my perspective, when I'm looking at things, the big question for me is who is going to be the primary driver for space exploration or space exploitation, as it were. Is it going to be governments or is it going to be corporations? If it's going to be governments, then yeah, I'm more along the lines of maybe I'm a little bit more optimistic. I'd say around 2040, maybe 2050. If it's corporate, then I would say it's actually sooner, because if it's corporate, they have a vested interest in succeeding.
Do you think there's a difference between corporations and the government right now?
That's what I meant by, that's why I prefaced that, depending on your worldview. I do believe that there is a difference between government and corporations, but I can see how folks.
Well, if let me ask you this: if the government didn't like inject money into them, into like all these big companies and like keep them afloat, do like they wouldn't exist anymore, right? So you could say that they're inseparable.
No, I wouldn't say that. I said there's some businesses that were rescued.
I mean, like the big ones, man. Like
Amazon,
Walmart, to keep all that going.
It's tied into the conspiracy thinking for sure, and
so
there's some inarguable points that we could agree to, that they get tax breaks, right? These big companies get special treatment from the government.
Yeah.
We can all agree that that's true, right?
Yep. Yeah, I can totally agree with that.
But yeah, I was curious though, to circle back to your premise here is that we cannot know what the science dudes are up to, what these science people are doing.
Yeah.
So they could totally be lying to us, and we have to choose who to trust. And I gather that something has happened in your life that has made you decide that some people with the flat Earth people, and you haven't said who. You could maybe detail that. I assume it's YouTube. Some YouTube flat Earth people come across to you as more trustworthy than the scientists. And I wonder if you could put your finger onto why that is.
Yeah, so for sure. So when I look at a flat, because I've seen a bunch of flat Earth videos, and like I watch them mostly for entertainment now, because you go through phases of like they're all lying, and you want to like tell other people and try and figure out, what their thoughts on it are, and then you just find out that everyone thinks you're a retard, and then that makes you mad, and then you watch more stuff, but I feel like I have a pretty good ability to discern truth and stuff. So when I'm watching somebody present something, like I know, like I can gauge like the confidence in which they're presenting it and how much sense it makes and what I can discern in my own experience. So I don't base it too much on like just what I see in the video. But if it's something like there's this guy named Ben, his YouTube channel is Taboo Conspiracies 2. I don't know if you've seen him or whatever, but he makes a lot of videos, and there's a lot of videos of people presenting that they can see too far, and that they zoom in on the stuff, and it goes back into frame in a way that that you don't see it when you're not looking at it that way, and the ship disappears behind the water globe makes total sense, but then when they zoom in on it from the same height, or that they shouldn't be able to, you're like, well, that's too far. And then a thing that I'll see that people will argue that is like refraction. And to my understanding, refraction is when an image gets distorted or compressed near the horizon or at a distance or whatever due to atmospheric conditions. Is that a fair analysis of what it is?
That's
and then okay, and then what was that?
He's showing you refraction.
Yeah, so it's just distortion or whatever. It's displacing the image, right?
Yes. So not only
magnify the image, it can move the image,
but it can't see. But if you were around a curve, it wouldn't show you around the curve, though.
It wouldn't.
Can you show me an example of that? Or is that what you? Yeah.
Yeah. Let me get a ball. I'll be right back.
Yeah. Okay. Because thanks.
Yeah, I don't have my lab set up yet, so I don't really have that. But while he's doing, oh no, he's back. All right, cool, awesome.
You can talk while I try to see if I can get this camera to do it. All right, you're gonna have to.
I'm actually curious on how you're going to do this.
With my glasses, can I do it?
I don't know.
I'm raising my eyebrow, right? Okay, I gotta.
Yeah, I don't know if that's
I'm raising my eyebrow.
Yeah,
right? It's hard because it's backwards for me.
Yeah,
in the mirror. And so if I get the ball, and then I just have to, there it goes. See my eyebrow?
Yep.
Okay, I got to get it back. Oh, it's like a mirror. This is, and I can't see it with the ball in front of my face either. There's some good videos on this. But yeah,
you have to see if you can find me one, because it just kind of looked like it just kind of magnified what we could already still see. So I'm not sure if that really captured it.
I see that. Maybe I'll do something other than my eyebrow. Anyway, you guys keep going while I fiddle with this. I'll try something other than my face.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that once once we go back to the before times and I have access to my physics lab, I would be very interested in creating this sort of demonstration to illustrate that. But I'm gonna kind of flip the script on you a little bit to ask you, what would it take for a science educator like us to convince you of the things that we're positive?
Well, I don't know that you could convince me of anything really, but I do like science and I'm interested in stuff. And if I want to have a position on something, I want to at least understand what the mainstream understanding of it is. Like if I can get a little grasp of what you guys are talking about, and I don't have to rely on Neil deGrasse Tyson, provoking people or something like that to get my my understanding from. So I'm excited about it. I'm really happy I came across your channel, man.
Yeah, and let me see if I can do this again. If I put the ball where it's just barely blocking that line right there, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And then as I move the glasses up and down, I had it a second ago. I don't know if anybody saw that.
Yeah, I missed it.
I can get it to, oh, come on, I had it. Dang it. There, oh, I think I saw it.
Yeah, this sort of thing is hard to do off the cuff. But oh yeah, muons. Yeah.
Muons, yeah.
I saw that. Yeah. I haven't actually looked into that. I will admit that the standard model particle physics is not my area of expertise. But yeah, it's definitely weird. I think Science was talking about it in his video response with Alan. There is Thomas Kuhn is an excellent science philosopher. Very, very dry writing, in my opinion, but he's talking about that science moves in paradigm shifts in basically in revolutions. And I think this wobbling muon experiment is starting to put cracks into our current idea of the standard model.
All right, so there we go. You see how that line right there is lifted up?
It's also angled.
And it's angled. If I cock these just right, I should be able to eliminate the angle and keep. There you go. So it's up. It's up now. So there you go. I've got the ball blocking it. I just have to put the glasses right there. There it is. You see it? You see that little line poking up above the ball?
I do, but it's at an angle it's at a noticeable.
Glasses,
no. Right? I agree with you, but
I can do a better one for you with care. This is just me knocking it together with a pair of glasses and a ball.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, but my question is, would the angle be that pronounced when looking at something as presented by one of those videos by Ben? Because that seems like an obvious, like you can pretty much tell what that is, and you're right. But is that what you would expect to see? Like how you know what I mean? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like how pronounced would that be? Would you be able to?
It's difficult for someone coming from where you're coming from to judge who's telling me the truth, right?
Yeah. because I don't have the stuff to test it. I just see a different narrative to it, and that already aligns with my predisposition of not trusting.
Right. That's
so
right.
so
You said it
no
right there.
yeah, I completely no. I mean, dude, like people think that flat earthers are crazy, but it's like a lot of stuff's going on that other people don't realize, and then from there you're just like, I don't know what's going on, man, and then you hear a different story, and you're just like, all right, man, like checks out in the video, I guess. So, and other people make videos doing it, and they produce the same effect. So you're like, okay, so there's some consistency here. That's what I look for too when I look at something that I consider, some strong evidence that goes against a mainstream narrative. Like I'm not just all willy nilly about it. Like some of it might seem that way, but that's but it's just because I don't understand the math.
Counter or not inconsistent seeming content from the science side.
Yeah.
You do? You absolutely do.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I didn't hear what you said. I was reading the comments. I was trying to do both at once. I can't do that. I'm just going to focus on you guys.
No, that's all right. I was just saying sometimes the science people will say things that seem inconsistent with each other or even their own statements.
Oh, yeah. I agree with that.
100%. Like we hear it all the time. Neil deGrasse Tyson says the Earth is pear-shaped.
Oh, well, dude, hold on. Funny you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Go on about the pear real quick.
To someone like yourself, that sounds inconsistent with what all the other globers said, which they said it was round, right?
Oh no, dude. I got some stuff to show you real quick, dude. Hold on.
Okay.
It's funny you mentioned pear, dude.
Well, the thing is that it isn't inconsistent.
So here, I'm sorry. Go ahead with your thing.
It's just an interpretation that you've got of the statements that make it sound inconsistent. Like we all have to interpret words. When we hear the words, we interpret them our own way. I'm sure we've all experienced that, where you said something to somebody and they got really angry and you're like, why are you mad about that? And it's because they interpreted it in some way other than you meant it, right?
Yeah. Oh, dude, absolutely, and especially through communicating online through texting. It's the worst, man. Like I'm at the point now where so I'm not trying to argue with people anymore, like on the interwebs, because it's just an energy drain. Yeah. So I try and get real specific with when I'm replying to people, and I think I like over characterize what I'm trying to say, because it's just like you could interpret things so many different ways, and like sarcasm doesn't work on a text, and like, or you know what I mean? So but with no tone attached to it, it's hard to judge what people are saying. And it is. And one of the things I saw,
right? When you don't have the context, when someone is delivering a lecture to a group of physics students in a graduate school, and they say something to those of us who are just watching this clip later on YouTube, and we don't have the same context as those students do, we will not understand it in the same way as it was intended.
Sure. To be fair though, I've watched entire lectures on them before, like to get the full context of some stuff that's said specifically about the gas and the thermodynamics and how it expands and all that.
Right. But are you a physics student?
No, I'm not. But
did you understand his formulas?
No, I didn't. But I understood that he said gas always expands in a vacuum.
That's exactly right. You understood that part of the lecture.
Okay.
But what you may not have understood, that I think everybody else sitting in the room did understand, was that was a simplification he was making, and he was not listing every possible case. Right? He didn't intend anyone to interpret that to mean that the Earth is flat, right? I mean, obviously, he didn't intend anyone to think that the Earth should be flat because of what he
No, he wasn't even talking about that, and you're right. But
so how is it that a PhD scientist teacher could say something to his class that can only be interpreted to mean that space is fake. How could that be?
I don't know, man. And the thing that,
let me
hold on,
posit you an answer.
Okay.
Then.
Okay.
Could it be he didn't say something that the entire class already understood, but maybe you didn't?
Can you can you elaborate on what on that then though? A little bit. Just try and explain it like I'm a 5-year-old or something. Like get as specific as possible.
He did not say that that the Earth has gravity and gravity affects gases, and the gravity will hold the gas on the planet. He did not feel the need to say that because everybody in his class already knew it. He was talking about in a very small model of a system where we're not worrying about gravity because that's not part of what we're studying today, right? And so he didn't feel the need to discuss how gravity changes the rules, right?
Okay.
Because that's not the topic for today.
I can acknowledge your point, but the only thing I have to ask about is, have you ever experienced an atmosphere being created due to gravity and holding in like another air pressure next to a vacuum without a barrier? Is there an experiment for that, or is this a gravity answer? Because that's where people are like, nah, this is bullshit. Because the thing that I do understand from that lecture is the one thing that's observable that I can get, and then to be like, well, gravity fixes it, and it's like, okay, man, does it? And then you fight.
Yes, it
and
does.
then you. Okay.
Yes, it's very easy. The first experiment I want you to do, is drive up a mountain with a closed bottle, like a water bottle. Just take a water bottle, and squeeze most of the air out, close it up, and drive up the mountain with it. And you will see, I think, that the air pressure is lower at the top of the mountain than it is at the bottom of the mountain.
Actually, you can do it even easier. If you have, for instance, I used to do observations on the top of Mount Wilson, which is in the Angeles Crest Mountains in California. And that is around 5,500 feet. So it's kind of barely stretching the definition of mountain. But one of the things that we have to do up there is, because it's isolated. It takes about an hour and a half, 2 hours to get to a grocery store. So obviously we need to take groceries up there. Well, one of the fun things is you buy a bag of Doritos, you take it up there, and by the time you get up to the mountain, the bag of Doritos is just blown out. So
I gotta interject with a funny story, just because it's a funny personal story. I at least used to climb mountains sometimes with my dad and my family. And in Colorado, there's a 14,000 foot peak. I'm trying to remember. It was Gray's. I think it was Gray's summit that we were climbing. And it was winter, so it was just us on the mountain, nobody else up there. And I like to buy like Pringles. It wasn't the Pringles one. It was the other brand like that, but they're sealed in a tube, right? They're in a tube. I had that in my backpack, and we're just hiking up the mountain because I like those because the tube protects the chips. Like, so you throw the chips in your backpack and they won't get smushed. And so anyway, it's just the three of us, my sister, myself, and my dad on this mountain. Nobody anywhere because it's winter, right? And we're hiking up this thing, and right about 12,000 feet, right about 12,100 feet, my chips exploded. They popped, and it was so loud. And it was right next to my head. We just all was like, "Whoa, what the heck was that? Is somebody shooting at us? What is that?" And then I was like, "Oh, it's my chips."
It's the cannon that I put in the back of my backpack.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So Alan, some people don't agree. Does the pressure drop as you go up?
Yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't that lecture, the one you're talking about, in that lecture, he says the pressure has to equalize unless there's a barrier.
You know what, dude? I'm gonna put that on Notepad and go back and watch it because I don't recall, but I'm
You may
open
have
to
said the word vacuum, but just your thinking,
because
your understanding.
So my understanding, like this is what I'm thinking about when I'm like, okay, was there an experiment for that? I'm thinking like you got your vacuum chamber, right? You got some gas, and then you start vacuuming it up or whatever you do with the vacuum, and then you're saying that there's like that the gas will prevent like air from being sucked out, out of that vacuum. That's my understanding of it, and that's where I'm like, well, what are they talking about?
Not on a small scale that you're going to do in your own home, right?
Okay, no,
but
like why wouldn't it be
slightly larger than your kitchen table, right?
No, I understand, but there's no like.
But what I'd like you to do is instead of focusing on the word vacuum,
okay,
let's understand why. Why does that vacuum force the gas to equalize?
I don't know.
Because the pressure is different. Is that acceptable? That if you have high pressure and low pressure,
that it's moving it because yeah. Sorry,
they equalize.
Okay.
Right? If you have a balloon with high pressure in it and you pop it with a pin, boom, that pressure comes out.
Right.
Yeah, right. And so that is what the second law of thermodynamics is saying, is that the pressure will tend to equalize.
Okay.
And here we are climbing up a mountain, proving the pressure does not equalize. And we didn't walk through any barrier.
Okay.
So I want you to
hear that. I see the connection you just made. Thank you.
Yeah, and
we're getting there. We're getting there. Okay. Thank you.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and so what did we just learn is that we learned some important things. One, okay, the pressure varies as you go up and down for some reason, and so that's basically irrefutable fact. We all know that. And so then here we have this professor saying that the second law of thermodynamics says that the pressure must equalize. So either he was some kind of moron or there was something about that lecture that you didn't get.
Fair enough, man.
Something that he was omitting.
Fair enough.
He understood everybody would get.
That's interesting because the way you just put that, if that, it checks out in my mind. So if that's such an easy rebuttal to that whole argument, I don't know if you've seen.
I have.
I don't even want to mention it because that guy is super negative and just yells at people, and I think it's a theatrical situation.
Yeah.
But
if you're talking about the yeller, we all know who that is. Yes.
Well, yeah.
I'm not sure, but anyway. What was I going to say?
Go down, go boom boom.
Yeah. So the big
go down,
go boom boom.
So the big point of it is like wrapping it, framing it around that not understanding of what you just said. So I'm not going to continue to use that as an argument or whatever. But
Psycho, I am paying attention to chat.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Is there anything we should highlight?
Oh yeah. So earlier when we were talking about the pair thing, real quick, if we could touch back on that, I put a thing I put a link in the private thing where the Naval Research Lab, they put this out.
Yeah, we can put that on.
Okay. Yeah.
Vanguard project. Yeah, I was looking over that. I honestly I couldn't figure out what was relevant about this.
Oh well, he said that people said the shape was a pear or whatever, and that but it's actually a sphere or a circle, and that and then Neil deGrasse Tyson like wasn't giving a good description of it when he said pear, and like I have that's from the government, that's an official source, and they're like, hey, we confirmed it's a pear, dude, and there's no picture of what they took there. So again, you're just like, here's official narrative source, man.
Right.
So is it a pair?
I wonder, Alan, if you could take the lesson of the second law of thermodynamics lesson and apply it to this topic and say to yourself, what was the audience supposed to get? And what did I get that's different from that?
I mean, I don't know, man. When you say something's a pair, it's a pair. Like that's pretty basic language communication that doesn't require any special interpretation. A pair is you can look at what a pair is, and that's it. You can't be like, oh, well, I actually meant a rectangle, and you're like, what are you talking about, guy?
So let me help you just a little bit.
Okay.
Because I did a video on this a while back on how oblate. You've heard it's an oblate spheroid.
Yeah, oblate spheroid. Yeah.
It is wider than it is tall. And then everyone says, "Oh, I've seen the pictures. That's BS. All the pictures are round. It's round. It's round. It's round."
Yeah, every picture is perfectly round.
Except they're not. It's just 0.03% wider than it is tall. Right? That is what we're talking about. Why would Neil deGrasse Tyson talk about that? Because his audience finds that minutia interesting.
Yeah.
That's who he's talking to. He's talking to people who care about 0.03%. I think that's the right number, 0.033.
I mean, dude, he didn't even preface that, though. He just says it so nonchalantly. And he wasn't even talking to, like the example you were talking about earlier, where it was a lecture and the students are, he was just doing some press BS. It wasn't even it was to put the idea, like when you're conveying it on that level, you can't argue that he was talking about something that the audience knows, that something, a context issue. You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, in a sense, I think you could, in that going from Neil deGrasse Tyson's perspective, when he walks into a room, he is going to make the assumption. I think we can all agree that he's going to make the assumption that the vast majority, if not everyone in the room, is going to come from the initial standpoint that the Earth is a sphere, the Earth is a globe, and so when he makes claims that the Earth is pear-shaped, he is attempting to alter their perception just slightly to let them know that no, the Earth is not a perfect sphere. The Earth is actually slightly pear-shaped, but again, it's very, very minute. It's a very
I can see what you're saying, Rob. I appreciate that viewpoint. But the other thing, though, is so if I get out Photoshop or whatever and check those images, is it going to be like 0.003, whatever number you just said? Is it going to be just barely off of that in terms of being a perfect sphere?
It depends on what video or what image you use. In my analysis of it, when I use Discover, when I use the Epic photos from Discover, they are all exactly that. And when I use the original Himawari 8 photos, they are exactly that. But when I just did sort of like a random perusal of things that I found on the internet, some of them are and some of them are not. It depends. It depends on exactly what the image is and where you got it.
We'll be a second.
One of the big things is a lot of the images are not photos; they are composites.
That's the thing.
Composites.
Yeah, that's a big argument.
It'll
where
be
it's
whatever
like
the artist did.
Right.
And so, no, those don't work. And I found one that was a Himawari 8 image, but somebody had cropped it. I don't know who did that, but it's on Wikipedia, right? It's on Wikipedia, so I thought it would be good. But when I looked at it, I was like, somebody cropped the edges of this thing, and it didn't work. But when I go to the original source of those two, those are the only two.
Can you link the original? Can I see it, or can you like show me how you determine that it's 0.003 off or whatever?
Yeah,
or is that
link to that later or something?
Yeah, we don't have, because I don't want to like take away from that, but I'm interested in seeing that because I don't even.
I did it because people didn't know how.
See, I got friends that are good with Photoshop, so I have to forward my request to them, and whenever they get around to it, I get to find out a little piece of how something,
Well, one of the things I do is I use something called GIMP, GIMP, GIMP.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that.
Because it's free.
Yep.
Photoshop is expensive, but if you've got a computer, you can download GIMP for free and use that.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that, then I have some online versions you can use. Like if you don't even have a computer powerful enough to run GIMP, I guess.
Like a Chromebook or something like that.
Yeah. So what I do then is you got to go and source a high resolution. It has to be high resolution, and you have to make sure that whoever's offering you this image claims that it's a full image, right? So that would be Epic, Discover, or Himawari 8, Himawari 9, the photos, the moon photos, if there's a full image, full frame one. And you need one that's the full circle, right? If it's like night on half of it, so you can't see that half, you won't be able to do this. So yeah, you get the image, you put it in GIMP, and then you line it up so that it's like north to south like that.
Yeah.
And then you measure using your tool the pixels. Put your measurement on the top pixel, measure down to the bottom pixel, and that's that. And you measure across the width. And Greater Sapien actually did a video on this as well, where he had an even fancier technique for measuring the perfect circleness of it.
Oh, what was his name? I'm gonna
Greater
Sapien. I'll check it out later.
Sapien is his YouTube channel, and he did one where he found the same thing, which is it. So if you're, if it's 1,800 pixels tall,
yeah,
then it's going to be, 3 pixels wider or something like that, on the other dimension. So it's just a couple of pixels. You have to get in and specifically measure for it to see.
Word, I'll check it out, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So that's what that's about. But yeah, when it comes to it, I think, as much as I do like Neil deGrasse Tyson, I think that the way he does that, he's trying to reach out to a particular segment of the TV audience or whatever. And I think he obviously does a very good job of doing that, of reaching that.
Yeah, it would have been nice too if that Naval Research Lab thing said the same thing or something, or provided a picture. Because if they were doing this back then, like it's kind of like
what we're seeing with someone like Neil deGrasse Tyson is he's not speaking to you, Alan.
I understand.
Not his target demographic.
No, I understand what you're saying, man. I get you.
Well, the unfortunate thing, from my point of view, is I think he's accidentally creating people who don't trust scientists.
I would argue that it's not accidental and that it's a theatrical presentation specifically to make people not trust it. Because even if it's true or not, people are still going to argue about it. And the more people argue about it, the more, it's divide and conquer. It's basic, it's what they did in Rome or whatever.
I have to agree with Al to a certain extent.
Because we fight over everything, the dumbest shit. I'm sorry, I know you guys probably don't want cursing, but it's like, yeah, we fight over the dumbest stuff and the dumbest things are like trumped up in the news, and everyone gets mad about it, and then like they'll later reveal that something will come out and it just completely destroys the narrative, and they're just like, oh well, and then they give you another thing like immediately. It's like it's a 24-hour cycle constantly. So that's why people don't trust that, because when you see that pattern, you just become super skeptical. And then I know you didn't want to talk about conspiracies or anything, and I respect that. So what I'll say to that is, if you look into any major conspiracies, that you'll hear about, that you're like, that you just don't believe, but if you were to look into them, you would easily find you would find multiple different narratives that you could be like, oh, that makes logical sense, and it's presented in such a way that that if you look into it, you're going to find them, So,
yeah. Rob, did you want to say something? You agreed with Alan on that, or
in a sense? So, what I agree with is I do believe that Neil deGrasse, his approach is purposeful.
Yeah.
And the reason why I believe that is because I listened to a lecture that he gave where he was railing against intelligent design. Now, whether or not you like intelligent design, I mean, that's your religious viewpoint or whatever.
Yeah.
But
I don't get mad at that stuff either. Like
his
I put
arguments
everyone
were entirely disingenuous and not scientific at all. For example, one of the rationales that he gave that the universe is not intelligently designed is because star formation is only has an efficiency of around 3%, meaning that if you take a prenatal cloud, a molecular cloud, only 3% of that mass is actually going to go into stars. That is a ridiculous argument to make, in the sense that who is he to say what is an efficient way of creating stars in the universe? Right. And so
why do you think he did that?
Why do I think he did that? Because I think that he is, personally, I think that he is something of an antitheist, and that he basically believe, he sees the people who believe, he sees intelligent design followers or proponents to be harmful to the discussion. He looks down upon them, and he writes it to them. And I think the same thing goes with
the opposite, though. I've also seen him sort of, I don't know if you've ever seen the one where he points out the trend, like if you say trend of religious people versus education, and you take that across, you see like the Nobel Prize winners in the sciences have a very small percentage that they are theists. And then he points out, and you think you think that he's saying, look, this proves that theism is wrong. But then he turns it and he says, since that number is not zero, right? The number does not go to zero, and therefore, if you're thinking that theism is wrong, that you should not, that's wrong, right? Because obviously, there's Nobel Prize winning scientists who are theists.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I have seen him do the railing. I kind of think, I always try to put the most positive spin on someone else's attitude that I can.
I try to do the same, although with him, he just kind of digs himself into holes. I
think that he does do it to get attention.
Yes,
I think to get attention. I think he's probably aware that he is pushing some of his audience away. That when he makes a comment that is anti-theist, that the religious folks out there will be turned away. But he's banking on the fact that overall he's boosting his own audience and his own reach, for either from personal reasons or just, to science communicate.
I agree with that. I agree that that is what he is doing, and that is a conscious decision on his part. It's that strategy that I have a problem with, that I disagree with.
Right.
With him.
And I do as well. I think I've been clear that I think that the way science has been communicated has created, modern anti-science movements.
I wouldn't say that they're anti-science, because a lot of the people, the ones that I watch, the flat Earth, community, because there's like, sub-communities, and like we were talking about the guy earlier that's super negative and makes a show out of it. Right. Those people aren't interested in, learning anything. I would say that there's, that's the people that, shit, I'm sorry, what did you say? Anti-science. So the people that I watch,
call it that.
Because the people that I watch, they love. I mean, they're trying to figure some stuff out. They might be misguided or whatever, but they're not doing it because they hate science, man. They love that shit.
Should I say anti-mainstream science?
Sure, an anti-theoretical science, I guess, because
alternative science. What do you think of that?
Sure, yeah. I mean, you can use whatever words you want. I'm just letting you know, like, it's not that people hate it or something. You know what I mean? That's all I just wanted to convey.
There is one thing I kind of want to circle back around to, and this kind of ties into your discussion of the military manuals and flat Earth.
Yeah, thank you.
One of the sort of conflicts, particularly if I think you watched the first video where I guest on Science's channel. We kind of got into this a back and forth about drag, and the thing, and it really kind of highlighted, and also watching his response to you on orbits, for example. It really highlighted that, and it is kind of a joke in the community. They highlighted the different way of thinking from an engineering standpoint, from to a pure scientist standpoint. Like when he said that all orbits, that two objects are all always in orbits with each other, I was like, whoa, wait, and then like, oh, okay, because. So technically, yes, that is correct, and probably more than technically that is correct. But when astronomers start talking to each other, just around over coffee, when we think of orbits, we think of bound orbits. We don't really concern ourselves so much with parabolic or hyperbolic orbits because it's unbound. The object is going to come into the essentially your frame of reference, and then it's going to leave. So we don't really think of that in terms of orbits, but that is what it is.
How is that an orbit if it never comes back? Is the definition of an orbit like going around something continually?
Well, that's the magic of it. Really, is definitions.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, speaking of definitions, real quick. Last week,
the English language.
Yeah,
right? In the English language, every word has like 5 definitions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. How many definitions can you think of for the word top?
Like, it's right.
Just top of something spins.
It could mean above. It could mean a little toy. It could mean better than something else. It could mean a verb to put something onto something else.
So you would think it would be intuitive to have a different word to qualify it, or are you saying that that there are, but you just say orbit just because you're just like there's no need to talk about both?
Well,
is it like it's kind of like a slang thing? To an astronomer like Rob, an orbit is either elliptical or circular. Is that right, Rob?
In sort of common parlance, I mean, we do acknowledge that there are hyperbolic orbits, but when astronomers are when we deal with, it depends on how you deal with the orbit, for example. So from an astronomer point of view, orbits are really, really handy if we want to know the masses of things. So we can use the orbits of things in order to determine the masses of, say, Jupiter or galaxies or what have you. And in those cases, the orbits are always circular or elliptical. A hyperbolic orbit, it really isn't going to help us determine the masses of any large number of objects. However, if you were shall we say, a NASA engineer and you were interested in sending New Horizons out to Pluto, then you are really into hyperbolic orbits because of gravity slingshots. And so that's something that that person would deal with on a much more regular basis than, say, astronomer who, it depends on what you're focused on, what you pay attention to most. And so kind of, I just want to finish my thought was, one of the sort of get back into, or let me make this a little bit more concise. One of the jokes in physics is assume a spherical cow. When we teach physics, and good or bad, this is generally how it's done, is that we take it we start with units, then we start with vectors, talking about scalars and whatever, and then we talk about motion, kinematics, and we take these little bits and pieces and we keep building onto each other. And when we do that, we frequently ignore real world forces or real world things. So one of the things that I don't really deal with at all is drag. And so it didn't occur to me to really think about how drag is affecting falling objects through an atmosphere, because we just pretty much ignore it in teaching introductory physics. And so when that ties into that lecture about the container, the gas in the second law of thermodynamics, that professor was essentially ignoring the gravitational field that cylinder or volume was in, because that wasn't the point of the lecture. The point of the lecture was to get across what an ideal gas is going to do given certain temperatures or pressures or volumes. And the reason why we do that, the reason why we, or the rationale that I at least glean from this, is actually to try to avoid confusion. Because if you try to explain the motion of a ball going down an incline, if you actually wanted to describe that completely, that gets really hairy, because not only do you have to deal with friction, you also have to deal with energy loss from rotation, things of that nature. And for a student first starting out, it becomes it's believed to be overwhelming to throw all of that at them. And so we will simplify the case in order to get to one particular point. And then when we study physics, when you get higher into your studies, you can start putting these things together. And, all right, so now I'm going to look at a ball that's falling through a gravitational field. All right, now that I understand gravity and I understand drag as two separate things, let's put them together and see what we get. And so finally, with the manuals that you were talking about, because Oakley, Nathan Oakley was put those out there.
Yeah.
If you read those manuals, what's actually being stated is the flat Earth is basically what we call the first order approximation. You basically set the playing field as a flat Earth, and then they start putting in Coriolis effect. Those manuals actually do talk about deflection due to Coriolis, but they don't do it immediately, because they want to set the groundwork. They want to set the stage for the problem before they add in complexities.
Okay, fair enough. I didn't. That's a really good explanation, because that's a big thing for me that I could, quote unquote understand. But I guess there's more to it, and that makes sense.
Yeah, as you read those, and please do go and look at those when they're offered. Those documents that were.
Yeah, dude, I'll be honest. I got to the part where it just said flat Earth, and I was like, all right, or stationary, non-moving plane. And I was like, all right, checkmate. Checkmate science.
Read that document.
No, you're right. You're right.
Don't even read it. Just read the quote and say, oh, yeah, NASA says the Earth is flat and stationary. Just read in the paragraph where they say that. And now put in the back of your mind while you're reading that, this is for people who know that's not true. This document was written for people who know that this statement that I'm making is false.
Well, I see what you're saying about that. Sure. Yeah.
To clarify to them that I know that I should have dealt with that, but I did not. Does that make sense? Like,
1 second.
It's like saying, like the lecture about the guy who didn't include gravity in his discussion.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I see what you're saying.
Footnote where they say, by the way, we're ignoring gravity here, kids. I know. I don't want to hear from the nerd in the back saying, "Sir, did you account for the curvature of the Earth when you did these calculations?" He's saying, "No, Melvin, I didn't." That is what that line in those documents is saying.
Dude, what's up with those people always being named Melvin?
I don't know.
It's always like Melvin or Gary or like Todd. Like Todd's always got some real interesting questions, right?
I gotta admit, it was usually me. It was me. I was really annoying in my physics class for, whatever demo the teacher was talking about. I'd say, Yeah, but air drag would change all that.
Well, that's good though, because you had stuff in your head that you needed to get explained to you immediately, you know, that you could wrap your head around. So it's good. And then he was able to answer those.
Right. And yeah, I guess all I really advocate, if there's any science teachers, science communicators out there, think about this. Think about how the people who are not your students are going to perceive your material. And maybe toss in once in a while a little reminder that we're ignoring some stuff here. Right. Just say once in a while, you know, there's some details that I'm glossing over, but let's just keep things simple. Just say phrases like that once in a while to remind the audience that we know, right, that at relativistic speeds, the whole equation changes. You know, it's like, but we're not doing that, right? You know,
yeah, I think it's important at any level for the instructor to let the students know these are the factors we're considering, these are the factors we're ignoring for the moment, because either they're real world or inconsequential, or they're just basically confused. It would be an added complication to the thing.
Right. If you go high enough in physics education or science education, you start to see that pattern. You learn that the whole pattern was that we learned something simplistic and reductive, and then we learned another detail, and then they kept saying, oh, by the way, remember when we taught you this? That was a little bit wrong. It's more like this. And they just keep doing that over and over and over.
Yeah, that can get, so you can see where, like, if you're not on the outside of that and you're trying to look into that, you're just like, oh, what? You can see like there's some wizardry going on, or that it would appear so, you know, because you guys are clearly doing some math and measuring some stuff, and you know you probably build a couple things, but you know, when you that everything that you learn to get to that process, if you try and get a quick peek at it, you know, you're just like, well, this doesn't add up immediately. So, like, what's going on here? You know?
Yeah, so, absolutely. And I'm happy to try to help you answer those questions whenever you find them. And if I don't know, that's really exciting, because then I get to go and try to learn it.
Dude, that would be cool. I hope one of the questions I have for you, because I got some notes and stuff. I hope one of them I ask you, you're like, you have to go and check something or something, you know?
Oh, I want to respond to Psycho Muffin really quickly. He asked me if circular or parabolic are real orbits. Yes. Are 1 and 0 unlikely? They're very, very, very uncommon unless there is a physical mechanism for it. For example, perfectly circular orbits really only exist in cases where you have essentially two objects that are fairly massive are very close to each other because of tidal locking. Tidal locking is going to circularize orbits. But if you were to look at just a 10,000 binary stars, and you were to look at the orbit or the eccentricities of those orbits, very, very few of them would actually be 0. And I've actually never encountered an object with a parabolic orbit. So I would think that's even less likely.
Yeah, I would say, adding from the engineer's point of view, those are numbers.
Yeah.
And when you take a measurement, they have error. So when you say it is a 1.0, I'm going to say plus or minus what? Right. Sure. And so as soon as there's a plus or minus on it, then to an engineer, at least, whatever. It's just a boundary condition as far as I'm concerned. Okay. I had some stuff I wanted to lead to, but Alan, did you have some questions you wanted to ask?
Yeah, let me go through some stuff here, and we'll see what we got. All right.
Oh, Psycho Muffin also really wants Alan to play Kerbal. What is it? Kerbal Space something or other?
Oh, do you not play KSP, Rob?
I have not played KSP. I need to play KSP.
Yeah,
but.
yeah.
I don't know that playing a simulation would.
It would.
Like it would show me what you guys are talking about, but my thing would be is like I don't trust that people have sent rockets. I think there's a barrier. You know what I'm saying? So when you guys are like, so hold on a sec. So when you guys go off into like, oh, we were looking at some Voyager footage. I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, were you like, and it's all good, but I don't know.
Right, but and that's really the difference between us. I want to stress this again, is that when Alan looks at Voyager footage, he says, I don't know, there's some footage, but I don't know that it's Voyager.
Yeah.
And then when I look at Voyager footage, I say, oh my God, there's Voyager footage. It's awesome. Voyager. Right? And the reason for that is because I have learned to trust that, or I have come to trust, I would say, I have over my experiences have come to trust them. And Alan, through his experiences, has come to distrust. Right?
Dude, that's a super accurate representation of what's going on, man. Right. I'm so glad that you guys are doing this, man. This is great.
But the irony I was trying to point out there about KSP is if you played KSP and you enjoyed that, right, and you had fun doing that, your psychology would change. Your whole, like, you're doing orbits and enjoying it and like geeking out with it, and now all of a sudden when someone talks about orbits, you trust them. That's how it works, right?
Well, I see what you're saying, but it comes down to the things that represent the orbits and all the math and all that stuff can only be represented in that game that simulation, or when you look into the sky at something that you have all these measurements that you say, so it's not going to help me understand it, because in my line of thinking it doesn't have to be a one-to-one comparison, because I don't believe that people have been there to verify any of the stuff that they say goes on in space. So because you guys have math and stuff for it, but I don't know that it's been confirmed, man. Like I don't know that, and an easy way to confirm it would be, okay, well, let's look at the pictures, and then you go, okay, well, there's pictures, I believe it, but if you lose the pictures, you lose the whole story, right?
Well, all right, so I'm an astronomer, and so for me, almost everything that I deal with cannot be shown in a lab. Frequently priors would be like, hey, can you show me? I think you even said, can you show me an example of an atmosphere holding onto a globe?
Dude, I'm glad you said that, man.
And the problem is I can't, because it's just not physically possible. I mean, we can talk about atmospheric gradients, but when it comes to actually demonstrating that gravity can hold a massive atmosphere to itself, I really can't. And so, kind of going in line with the KSP example, is that the reason why I believe, or that I have, I guess, I hate to use this word, but the reason why I have faith in all this.
No, you don't, dude. Don't be afraid to say that when you're speaking about it, because it's honest, man. And if you try and dodge away from that, people won't trust. Like, they won't trust you.
Yeah, the whole science is a religion thing, but anyway,
I got you. I'm just letting you know it's all good, man.
Okay, cool. So the thing that I like about it, and the thing with PSP is, I've never played the game, but if you play the game, what I think what you might find interesting is that it all fits. Everything that every little orbit or every little thing that you do in there all makes consistent sense. And so from an astronomical point of view, I first start, we look at gravity. We look at the idea that gravity is a thing. Okay, so what are the implications for that? We can use gravity to explain the orbits of planets going around the sun, which we can measure. We can measure what those positions are. We can predict what those star or those planets are going to be in the future. We can do the same thing for galaxies. Galaxy motion can also be explained through gravity. And so it's I don't think I'm really doing this justice, but there are, we have certain physical phenomenon that we can verify in the lab, which we can then apply cosmologically, and we still see the same consequences in a variety of different astrophysical ways. We can basically the work that we can do in particle accelerators, looking at particle decay, looking at slamming particles together for fusion or what have you. We can take that knowledge and then we can apply it to supernovae, and we can say, oh, all right. So this is where the Earth got its uranium from. This is where the Earth got gold from. Gold was created in the heart of a supernova explosion, which I think is just way cool. And so it is basically just the internal consistency of everything in astronomy that builds my faith up. Is that if I looked at this and I was like, all right, okay, I can't take Jupiter and put it on a scale and figure out that it's it's 318 times more massive than the Earth. But I can take that that information. All right, so if I measure its that mass and then look at its interactions with, say, the Trojans or the Greek asteroids, which are two asteroids which are essentially gravitationally bound to Jupiter in a way. It all fits together. It builds upon itself. So if any of these little pieces broke apart, then I would have a problem. But
what would break it apart for you? Like what's something, like what's an example of something where if it was like, if it didn't work, you would just be like, well, I don't know what the hell we've been doing. Can you think of anything like that?
So going towards that, so if one of the ways that we can determine the mass of Jupiter, well, the first way that we determine the mass of Jupiter was by looking at the orbits of the Galilean moons. One thing that's consistent. So you can get a mass measurement of Jupiter based on looking at simply the motion of Io. That gives you a mass of 311. I think it's 311 times mass of the Earth. You look at Europa, the next moon out, that will give you the same number. And then Callisto will give you the same number. Ganymede will give you the same number. So if those planets or those moons gave inconsistent mass readings, then I'd be like, all right, this is a little wonky. But then, even if those are consistent, and that gives me a mass of 311 times the mass of Earth, and I know what the mass of, or I've measured the mass of the sun, that will then predict where those trailing and preceding asteroids are going to be. If those asteroids are not in the predicted location, then that's a red flag. But they are. So it's all internally consistent. And that actually moves towards as Science said in his video to you, that's when paradigm shifts occur, is when that internal consistency breaks down. That's when we start looking at, okay, maybe our theories or maybe our ideas need to be adjusted, in so much as the inconsistency exists. So, for example, I know I'm kind of going off on long-winded, but one of the breaking points or one of the cracks in the foundation of Newtonian physics was the orbit of Mercury. Mercury's orbit precesses. Basically, it means that
it has a little wobble to it, would you say?
So yeah. So if this is the orbit, man, I can't do it.
I get you. It's wobbling, and something must cause it. Got it. Yeah, actually, I have something to talk about that.
Well, I was just going to say that the Mercury orbit precesses, but the other planets, we don't have. Given the precision of our measurements, we don't see that precession. And so relativity was able to explain not only the precession of Mercury's orbit, but why the other orbits don't. So and with that, I will cede the floor.
If I could really quick try to summarize that in a more high level overview kind of way. We just heard Rob talking in some detail about the details of his work. And he looks at Jupiter, right? And he looks at the moons of Jupiter. which we can all do, by the way. We can all do that. That's something that I think everybody could reasonably be asked to go and see a telescope and look and see the moons of Jupiter. I've done it. So I think that the flat earther folks are going to say, those are just lights in the sky. Why do you care? What we heard is Rob describing why he cares. You may not care, but Rob cares because
I get what you guys,
of these things, and whether you believe that they're really moons orbiting a planet or not, the models that we work with are consistent with the fact that they are moons of a planet.
Yeah, no, I completely understand that part of it.
Okay.
So yeah, I got that. Yeah.
All right. So Alan, you had a question.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to find the link. 1 second. Got multiple.
Oh, let me play. Yes, KSP is on Steam. Although I think Psycho pointed me somewhere else. Oh, someone just said that.
Right, and Psycho Muffin also talks about Neptune, which we talked about earlier.
Yeah, we'll get to that. 1 sec. I'm trying to find the link. I think it was in the thing I sent you.
Oh, speaking of Voyager, I just kind of want to show and tell. One of my favorite astronomical pictures. This is Earth.
The pale blue dot.
The pale blue dot.
Looking through the
red streak in artifact. What was that?
What is this stripe in there? Is it Saturn's rings?
Oh, this red stripe?
Yeah. That's
actually a camera artifact.
Oh, okay.
Which actually, to me,
it's really coming out strong in that image. It's more like a.
In most, whenever you see the pale blue dot, usually it's been cropped, and so you don't really get the contrast between the two. But if you're looking for the hand of the divine in things, the fact that this is aligned the way it does, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah. Different people see the hand of God in different places.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree with that, man. Because for just to touch on that comment real
Vulcan.
quick.
Yeah.
So
shared this before. Let me put this in the chat for you.
Yep. Actually, we'll just move on. I don't.
So there's a link in the chat there.
So the project or the planet Vulcan thing. I'm sure you know about how Einstein killed a planet or whatever they try and say.
Oh, okay.
Well, I don't know. I've seen articles where they say like Einstein destroyed a planet because he disproved,
right.
referring to the Vulcan thing. Yeah. It's just theatrical. But it's along that narrative. So this guy, I'll just give like the TLDR. This guy says, 1 second. So they're trying to figure out about the wobble of Mercury that you were talking about, because they're saying it must be caused by something because of what you're talking about, how your math checks out and stuff. And so they're like, well, it must be something there. And then you got the Neptune situation. And they're like, it proved that. So this Vulcan thing must be there. So then that guy, not Edmund. What's the guy's name?
Haley.
Urbain Verrier? Verver? I don't know. It's French or something.
Oh, Leverrier, yes.
Yeah, Leverrier. Yeah. So your boy says he puts out some stuff about Mercury or something, and then this guy who says he didn't read it or whatever, which is whatever, don't care, doesn't matter. The Edmund guy, he says that he sees planet Vulcan and he confirms like that's what causes the wobble, and then that gets and then so your boy Irvine goes out, meets with him, and he does an interview, and it just like if you read the article, like they might have done some they might have went and looked at it, but in the article it's presented as they just had an interview and he asked them some questions and they was like, all right, cool. So that's that what you saw as a planet, and then all this, and then it says, it continues on in the article. It says that the New York Times goes ahead and prints that there's a new planet and all this, and people are seeing it, and look at that's that new planet, and then all of a sudden with the new model with Einstein, he says, well, that's not, you guys aren't looking at a planet, you're looking at light bending to a space curve or whatever, and then that's how he quote unquote destroyed the planet or whatever. So my question is, is that it's cool that you measured the moons and all that, and it all checks out. But it checked out for those guys too, to the point where they thought they had a planet, and nobody went there to verify it. And then another guy came along and was like, "Well, it's actually just light bending because of the mass." And then everyone was like, "Oh, cool, got it." Like that. So,
yep.
I think you guys are muted. I can't hear you. I might have muted.
Oh, you can't hear me?
Are you guys talking?
Well, Science, you went out for a little bit, but you're back now.
Oh, okay. I was just saying straight up, yeah, that totally happens.
Oh shit! Hold on, I can't hear you guys.
History of science in a nutshell.
I can hear Science. I think Alan can't hear us.
Oh no! Can you not hear us, Alan? Okay, I can't hear you guys. He dropped out. Maybe he'll come right back.
I hope so.
For our guests, while we wait, yeah, I'm agreeing.
Yeah,
that is how science works, though. We go through phases where we're completely convinced that not germs, like fruit flies, that fruit flies spontaneously are created from rotten fruit.
Yeah.
Until somebody says, "Hey, look at this. It's a fruit fly egg." And then everybody goes, "Oh, well, that makes sense. I guess." Okay, I was wrong. My bad. And that's, although honestly, the true history of science is usually try to rejoin.
Yes, Alan, please try to rejoin us.
Oh, there he is. He's here. Boom.
Oh, sweet.
Okay.
Sweet.
So yeah, the true history is that very often the old guard resist the new data for quite a while. Einstein famously resisted quantum mechanics.
God doesn't play dice.
Right. And so even, Einstein himself was not immune to this. It's pretty normal. Can we hear you, Alan? Can you hear us?
Hello?
I hear you.
I hear you.
Oh, shit. Hold on.
Headphones go dead or something?
Yeah. Does my mic sound the same, or is it on a different mic?
Yeah, it sounds the same.
Okay, cool.
Sounds okay.
Okay, one sec. Something happened and I lost. Were you guys able to hear everything I was talking about?
Yeah, yes. We heard you.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't hear anything you guys said. My audio channel switched or something, and I lost you guys. I didn't realize what was happening. Sorry.
All right. Are you good now?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Well, yeah, we were just saying that that's pretty much the story of the history of science. Is people believe the scientists of the day, the eggheads of the day, believe a certain thing, and then some generations go by and someone makes a discovery and eventually discovers that something that people used to believe is not true anymore. And I was saying I wish that we were all wise enough to accept the latest evidence immediately, but maybe it's not unwise to be a bit skeptical of new evidence until usually takes, like, we talk about generations. And I mentioned that, for example, Einstein himself was famous for doubting quantum mechanics. Or Newton, Isaac Newton, doubted that light was a wave. Isaac Newton was convinced that light was not a wave. One of the greatest physicists of all time resisted the evidence that it was a wave. I think right up until his death.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I don't think he conceded to Huygens at all.
And now we know that, sorry, Newton. So that is how it works.
Dude, I don't know. I think your boy Newton might have nailed that one.
Well, the particle wave duality is.
Dude, can we please talk about wave particle stuff?
Because didn't it?
I'm particularly interested in that because that's a thing that I can understand, and the double slit and all that. I kind of get what they were presenting, but I don't know if you guys probably obviously don't watch Globebusters or anything like that, but there was the recent episode that just came out where this I guess it's Rob's wife, Cammie. She did this presentation on light, how light's a wave and stuff. I don't know if you've seen it or heard about it, but
I heard about it. I was
it
talking
completely
about-
shatters the idea that it could be a particle as well with the polar filters, right? With the adding the third filter adds light, which is just like, how does that work with a particle? If you don't know what I'm talking about, I can
have to watch it to tell you, but I can
Okay.
tell you that the modern science, I can just tell you what science says. The body of knowledge, referring to science as the body of knowledge that we currently accept, is that light is a wave, but light is a particleized wave, if you will. It arrives in discrete pockets or packets called photons, which are particle-like in many ways, but they are also wave-like in many ways. So we kind of come full circle to maybe they were both right in a certain way of expressing things.
I look at the wave particle duality in a similar vein to celestial mechanics classical mechanics and relativity, in that it really depends on what you want to do. For example, the photoelectric effect, which is what Einstein actually won his Nobel Prize for, basically solar cells. You can explain how a solar cell works by using light as a wave. It's just really ugly. The math becomes really
I've seen some visual stuff on the supercell stuff from that guy Ken Wheeler. I don't know if you've heard of his stuff or whatever.
Ken Wheeler.
Dude, give me some.
No. Ken Wheeler is the master of word salad.
Dude,
Dude,
I'll be real with you. I'm not going to pretend that I know what he's talking about, but he's presented some interesting videos along with the word salad, and I'm like, well, I mean, he's got the thing, you know, so maybe it makes more sense. So that's funny. You guys are just
with the photoelectric effect, if you want to
all good.
It does. And if you look at it from a particle perspective, the mathematics is much more elegant, much easier. It's more of how do you, but with the Young's double slit experiment, that experiment is much easier to explain, imagining light as a wave, but you can do it using light as a particle. But again, it becomes
one
more
theory or something.
Yeah, Psycho Muffin. That's the video. You found it. So that Rob's wife, she does a presentation of this or whatever, and then she also. Are you familiar with a mirror scope, like how it makes a hologram or whatever?
A mirror scope? Don't know that.
One sec. It's like a children's toy. One sec.
Is that the one where
I might have the name wrong?
It looks like it's on top.
Yeah. It's like a bowl, and it's a mirror. I might have the name wrong. Sorry. So
I don't know what it's called.
It's something. So anyway, she's got this right, and it makes a She puts an ice cube at the bottom, and it makes the hologram of the ice cube on top. And they have a laser thermometer, and they read the temperature of the hologram, and it's colder. You know, it's significantly colder than all the other than the other stuff. And
red light would bounce the same way as optical light, right?
I'm sorry. What are you talking? You're talking about you're talking about the laser.
The thermometer, a laser thermometer.
Yeah.
It's a little bitty infrared camera. That's what that is.
Yeah. So
so it just reads the infrared light of what you point at it.
Right.
And so your eye is picking up the optical light, right? So if you see a thing, then you can be not 100% because, you know, different things reflect different frequencies differently. But if the mirror reflects infrared light, the same as it reflects green light, then the laser will pick up an ice cube. Sure.
No, but she's aiming it at the hologram.
I know.
Okay. So
you're seeing the light from the ice cube.
That's what we call a virtual image.
So yeah, I think I wish I had notes on it.
The thermometer measures light. It's just a frequency of light.
Okay, so what they're saying basically though is that if light were a particle, that wouldn't be possible to make that heat transfer. I mean, you know, to that temperature change.
I don't know where they come up with that. If I can,
because how would it?
Simple logic. If I can,
Yeah, I'm sorry. Run
something,
it by me again. I'm sorry. So
I
just
can see it.
let me re-present it and then see if I got it right, and then tell me that again, but just explain it a
Okay.
little. Just do it again. Sorry. So aiming the laser at the hologram, not the ice cube, and it's not angled at a way that it's gonna reflect into the bowl or something and get the actual ice cube.
Correct.
When you do that, and it's just on the ice, the hologram of the ice, you're saying that you would expect it to read cold.
Yes.
Okay.
I would expect it to.
I mean, but I'm not. But what science is saying makes sense to me.
I mean, maybe there's stuff I don't know about this.
Yeah, maybe I don't have the full spectrum on it. But I just thought it was super interesting.
I would expect
to that. Yeah.
That infrared light would probably bounce off of the mirror in the exact same way that optical light does. Probably.
Okay.
Depending on the properties of the glass, though, glass can insulate infrared light sometimes. So if, for example, if it was hot, if it was a hot coal in there, right? And the heat was radiating off of that, you can bounce heat, right? I have a heater up in my bathroom that's a halogen heater, right? It's just like a coil that heats up, and then there's a disc that reflects the heat at you, right?
Yeah.
And so it feels hot because the infrared is just the heat that you feel over distance. And it's just it's a color of light that you can't see with your own eyes. Snakes can see it or stuff. Yeah. The predator can see it. Have you ever seen the movie Predator?
Yeah.
Have you ever used an infrared camera?
I haven't, but I've seen like what they do.
Okay, so the laser thermometer is basically a really cheap infrared camera. That's what it is. So if it can see something that looks cold, it will give you a cold temperature. So can it see the ice cube is the question. Well, if you can see the ice cube, why wouldn't it see the ice cube? I don't know.
Yeah, my question is though, or my follow-up to that, and maybe I'm a retard, is you don't, when I look at it, oh wait, I'm sorry. You did explain it. Never mind. You're good. Okay. Let me get the link for the chat real quick because I want to show that guy what we're talking about or whatever.
Yeah, some of the people don't know what we're talking about. I remember as long as we're talking, oh my gosh, I'm blanking his name. Mark Rober. Mark Rober did an epic squirrel run. Did you guys see the epic
squirrel
run?
Oh my God, Fat Gus for the win.
Yeah. And he had one of those little hologram things to see if it would trick the squirrels.
Oh, I love the epic squirrel run. That was just fantastic.
Yeah, and so this hologram that we're talking about is just a mirror. That's all it is. It's a mirror.
Yeah.
And so it reflects light. And I'm guessing that, I don't know, I haven't measured it, that it would also reflect infrared light. And if that's the case, then the thermometer should show that it's somewhat colder than the air around it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, also, fair enough.
And the other thing that I would guess, if I'm going to go out on a limb, is that somebody who really wanted it to show something other than that would present to you this without seeking counterpoint, without asking anybody from any science background, why is this happening? They would present to you this as if it proved something because they really wanted it to.
Yeah, they do mention that it disproves, wave particle duality or whatever. So, if it doesn't or whatever, you have a.
I feel like they should.
Then it doesn't.
At least ask someone with some experience in that.
Yeah.
Or they just declare that it does.
Yeah, for sure. That's why I'm thankful you guys had me on to ask this stuff because there's no like I can't Wikipedia like that kind of a question. Or maybe I could, but I don't know what I'd be even looking for.
And,
so this is the link if you want to post it to them real quick so they can see what they're talking about. Yeah, it's in the private.
It's a YouTube, so that's fine.
Yeah.
And this is to Globebusters?
This is on channel. This is Rob's wife, or no, this is a friend of the Globebuster.
Friend of the Globebuster.
Yeah.
All right, I don't mind plugging them. Yeah, just a little shout out. I was talking to Bob earlier this week. I don't know if Bob's going to watch, but I had a really great talk with Bob. I think Bob is.
That's good, man. I'm glad to hear that because he strikes me as a genuine guy that wants to present
I think
an accurate representation.
Agree with his analysis.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make him a bad person. And and last time I was talking to Rob, I said some things like that Bob took to mean that I was calling him a liar, and I am not calling Bob a liar. I am not at all.
Yeah, dude, it's hard to communicate in text. I kind of saw that reply or whatever. He put it in a video, and that's how he interpreted it. And it's easy to interpret that stuff because, like I said, you're not just up against like logic and reasoning. You're up against what you don't know that someone else, like you don't know someone else's perspective and the grander scheme of like of how far this quote unquote conspiracy stuff goes and like what all has been lied. So like you get you're if you were making like a genuine comment or whatever to rebut it, you could see how it would be interpreted as like an attack or whatever. I guess.
We'll call this at least a partial apology. I do not think that Bob is a liar. I don't think he was trying to cover anything up. I think he discovered that his hypothesis was invalidated. And
you're talking about the Netflix thing or whatever?
Yeah, the famous 15 degrees per hour that Bob is.
Dude, I haven't even really got caught up on that. But
Bob managed to do a little bit of a follow-up on that.
See, I saw the follow-up.
He thinks kind of vindicated himself, that he thinks maybe there's some evidence that it is not rotation still, but he doesn't have the device anymore. And so we can't follow up in the data. He doesn't have the data. He doesn't have the device. It's not his device. It was somebody else's.
Yeah, I thought he bought it. I thought he said he bought it.
If you listen to Behind the Curve, it's clear that somebody else paid for this thing.
Oh yeah.
It's not Bob's device. He had it for a little while.
Got you. I could have. Yeah, I don't want to misrepresent what he said, but I could have sworn I thought he said he bought it. But
yeah, watch it again carefully. You'll hear that he said.
No, I didn't even watch the Curve thing. I'm talking about on YouTube.
Somebody in the community purchased the device.
Oh, I see.
What we found, when he says we, he's using the same we as when I say when we discovered gravity. I didn't discover gravity.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it was a group effort, guys. Everyone, fucking round of applause.
I thought when he was talking about I thought it was Globebusters. I was under the impression that the people in Globebusters had pooled their resources and bought the thing.
That's what I thought too, man.
There was a member of FE Core, which I'm not sure on the relationship between everybody, but he made it pretty clear to me that it was somebody from FE Core had bought the thing and done the initial test and then reported the initial test to them. And so Bob became aware of these results.
Yeah. Have you seen
later he actually got to play with it?
Yeah, his later reply or whatever, his updated stance on it is that the device would have been sensitive enough to detect hang on one sec. Sorry. That it was sensitive enough to detect more of the motion that's alleged going on. And that because it didn't, and that it was just the static 15, that that proves that it's just the Aether and not us. Which I don't know, how all that shit works, but to me that was a reasonable reply. If it does work that way and it doesn't, is there an explanation for that, or is that a misinterpretation of how the device could be used?
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have a lot to go on. He told me, and this is total hearsay at this point. It's just Bob
yeah.
And I'm telling you,
yeah, for sure,
that what they did was they took it up to Pikes Peak, and they tried to show that the rotation rate would be different at different altitudes. because the globe model suggests that it should not be different. And as far as I can think, that's correct. Bob's puzzling on it too. I think it should be the same. He's going through your head. And according to his initial results, it seemed like the rotation rate was different at different altitudes, which would seem to suggest a new discovery that's worth following up on. And now this is where I want to really stress that when you make a hypothesis, like the initial hypothesis is this thing is going to show the Earth is not rotating. You do the measurement and you go, crap, it shows the Earth is rotating. Now what? We often present that means your hypothesis was wrong. You just say it's wrong and that's it.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is you say, wow, that isn't what I expected. And maybe you say interesting, just like Jaron said in the video, you say interesting. And then you go and you say, why did that happen? That isn't what I thought. Is it? And you say, does that really mean that my hypothesis was wrong? Or is there some other explanation? And you go looking for other explanations. That is the correct thing to do. Yeah. And so if anybody, says otherwise, and people do say otherwise, no, you should keep your mind open and keep looking for things like maybe this planet Vulcan isn't really there. You should always keep just a little bit of room for new discoveries to come.
Cool. Yeah, I'm you brought up ether, which I did not realize that Bob was a proponent of the.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I'm a fan of the ether, man. I like it.
I don't
have any math for it, but sounds cool, man.
What I find to be ironic about that is that flat earthers will frequently use Michelson-Morley as an example of why the Earth is not rotating. And in actual fact, the Michelson-Morley proved that was a piece of evidence suggesting that the ether did not exist. That's what it was actually trying to test.
Right.
So.
Right.
I'm sorry. What was the trying to test again?
So when Michelson-Morley came out with their experiment, what they were not trying to determine whether or not the Earth was rotating. What they were trying to do was determine whether or not the Earth was moving through a static, semi-luminous ether.
I see.
And because the idea was that light had to propagate through some medium, like sound.
Right.
And so the idea was, if that is true, if light propagates through a medium, and that medium is stationary with respect to the Earth moving through it, then from simply just a Doppler perspective, the speed of light should change if you're moving towards that light or if you're moving away from that light. And so what Michelson-Morley demonstrated was that the speed of light is constant regardless of direction. And so the experiment basically is a piece of evidence that suggests that we are not moving through a static medium. Gotcha. Not that we are not moving, but that we are not moving through some static medium through which light propagates.
Right.
Fair enough, man. Did not know that part of it.
On this is just that the flat Earth folks like to interpret Michelson-Morley as evidence that the Earth is not moving, and that's cool with me if that's how you want to interpret that. But I do like to emphasize that Michelson and Morley at no time even appear to have even considered that it was a possibility. They didn't even talk about it ever, as far as I have ever found. So that's not what they thought was going on. If you guys
interesting, yeah, no, you're right. That's how it's presented. And to be honest with you, I've never went and looked it up much, or read any of the documentation or anything. I just kind of watched some videos on it. So I'm super guilty of that. And I have used that as an argument. And now I realize that's not I don't know what I'm talking about, dude. I gotta dial it back a little bit on that.
as far as they were concerned, the movement of the Earth was done deal. It was settled science. There was no question at all.
Yeah.
And so they were looking for something else. And then when they didn't find that thing, they still did not even question that whether the Earth was moving. But I do invite you as a flat earther to go ahead and question that, right? To go ahead and say, well, does it mean that? And if we stop at Michelson-Morley, if we say just Michelson-Morley, you could say that is one explanation. That is one potential explanation for that result. But then invariably we have to bring in Sagnac, which contradicts that. And so you can't believe in Michelson-Morley and Sagnac and ether. They're incompatible. The three are not compatible with each other.
Dang.
But people want to believe it. They really do want to. And if any of those ether people are listening, I've thought about it. The best I can come up with is that ether somehow spins without translating. And if that makes any sense to you, right? It goes when you're measuring circularness, we measure that it does go around in a circle. But then if you say, well, at the top of the circle, it's going that way, at the bottom of the circle, it's going that way, and you try to measure for that, you get that it does not. So somehow the vorticity of the, what is it? The non-de Sitter space magnetic dipole dielectric is somehow toroidal.
Me right now,
it's
bro.
hypertoroidal and spins, but it does not translate. And if you think that is a better explanation, then yeah, the Earth goes round, dude.
Dude.
Hey, great. Go for it. No,
fair point, man.
I think the Earth goes
and you know what?
round.
Honestly, I'll admit it right now. It doesn't really make sense to me. But dude, you know, look, here's the thing, man. I feel like at some point, you know, I've never felt the move of the Earth or any of the shifting or anything. And you've presented the math to me, and you say that, you know, it's a very small change, you wouldn't feel it, kind of thing. And it's like, all right, man. But hold on one sec. I lost my train of thought.
The train of thought has left the station.
Yeah, where I think I, you know, mentioned earlier, the disconnect is like, I don't trust, you know, what they present to us about space and the technology that they say is flying around up there and all that that like verifies it. Because like I don't, we've already been doing this for 2 hours, and I really appreciate your guys' time. And I'm not trying to get on like, oh, let's play is the moon landing real game, because you know you're not gonna sway my opinion on that. And if people don't want to look into it, it's all good. But so for my frame of reference, I'm just like, I don't know, man. Like I don't feel that in my life, so I don't know, you know.
I have that brings me to something I did want to get to before we lose you, and that is. I
mean, I could stay a little longer. I just don't want to take up your guys' time with questions that don't matter.
You do seem focused on the stuff that you cannot know by yourself.
That's true. I am. You're absolutely right.
Why not? I mean, let me just throw it out there.
Okay.
Why not look at the stuff you could do yourself?
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm thinking, I like to test things. That's my whole deal with science. Like I can science that. What I mean is I can test it, right? I can come up with a way to test to see if that's true or not, or I like to think that I can try at least. So on the one hand, we have flat. On the other hand, we have globe. So is it flat? Is it globe? One of these two people is not telling me the truth. Can we agree to that?
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay. There are ways I can test their claims all by myself. Okay. Let's choose a claim that the flat and the globes make and test it to see which one of them is truthful.
Okay.
And then after we've done one, maybe do two, do three. If you can get a score of 3 to 0 on telling the truth versus not telling the truth, I think that I would be convinced now at this point that the one side is truthful and the other side is just not.
Yeah. Dude, I was super convinced with the mirror scope thing, man, and the temperature change, because it and then also
there's a red flag in that.
Yeah.
Big red flag that I want you to see, hopefully you see on your own, which is they did not consult the opposing view in any way.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point.
I'm actually confused on how they came to that conclusion to begin with.
Well,
it's just some made up stuff. Right? I mean, there's nothing to back that. I don't know.
You'd have to email her. And actually, I think you really should, because the people that believe that, if you have like some legit stuff that counterpoints it, I think you should reach out to Rob, because it's his wife, Cammie, that was her video and her presentation on it, and the polarizing stuff. I mean, it makes so much sense that if you don't understand like all the math stuff you're talking about and all that, and you're skeptical, it makes so much sense that you're just like, okay, well, I can accept this. So I think you should reach out to them and be like, try and do like a live interview or something, or maybe do like a video response. Because I know you're not trying to do like a debunking thing, but like, I gotta hear, because like, I get you with the cherry picking, man. I do.
What I put up on the screen there is it's not just telling the truth. When I say telling the truth, I don't mean to be implying that anyone's lying. I don't think that they are. I just think that what they've told me, if it's a testable claim, if there's a testable claim, I can test it to see if it's correct. And if it is correct, it is a true claim. If it is not correct, then it is not a true claim. And I don't mean to imply that that's a lie in any way. One thing that I've learned, and I stress this over and over through my excursions through Flat Earth, what I've learned is that people say things that are not correct, but that doesn't mean that they're lying.
Yeah, dude, I'm a big proponent of that, where it's like, I might be wrong, but I'm not lying to you. That's a thing that's in the Owen Benjamin says. I don't know if you guys know him, but anyway,
I remember.
I might be wrong, but I'm not lying, and that's
because I totally thought he was lying the first time I
really
saw him. I thought so, because he was a comedian.
Yeah.
He was a comedian, and so I immediately assumed that the things he was saying were not true. It's comedy. I thought it was a comedy, but
you thought, he's all in on it. So
I thought it was comedy. It's hard to tell. That's Poe's law, right? That's what we say. Poe's law. You can't tell the difference between someone who's making fun of a position and someone who actually holds the position.
Yeah. Oh no, he definitely believes it. Like, and that's why if he's wrong, like I'm not going to fault him for it, or any of the people that I like to watch that I think are honest people. And that's exactly, that's super important to remember. People might be wrong, but not all of them are lying,
Right.
Because to that point, sorry, go ahead.
You go.
It was just to tie in about conspiracy stuff real quick. Is like a lot of people think like, well, how is everyone in on it? And you got to realize the amount of people that would have to be in on it. I mean, it's not that high, and you can give incentives to people like money, and basically, and if they're in debt, like you can impose, they can turn the other way and not. So anyway, I just might be wrong, not lying. That's a good thing. Good quote.
I would suggest to you that you don't have enough of your own personal knowledge to actually even judge how many people would have to be in on it.
Well, I can conceptualize of ways that it's not, and we don't have to get into that, but let's stick to the other stuff that we're talking about.
Okay. So I was proposing that you ought to search for some ways to answer, is it flat or is it globe, that you could do yourself and verify, something that you could verify, and pick into those first, rather than, is dark matter real?
Yeah, dude, you just start there and it's a game over.
We don't know. I don't know. Yeah. Rob doesn't even know, right?
Yeah.
Do you have a theory?
Dark matter. Yeah.
We don't know.
So dark matter, my personal viewpoint is that there is missing matter. What that missing matter is, we have a pretty good. We have a strong lead as to what missing matter is, but do we have a definitive answer as to what dark matter is? No, we do not.
You're thinking WIMPs?
Yes, Rob? I'm thinking neutrinos. Some sort of
in the WIMPs camp.
So back to dark matter though, real quick. I mean, we just talked about how light was. They thought that was a planet. I mean, what's the over under you guys are on or got dark matter nailed? Like, at what confidence do you?
Well, all right. So the question here is, and I was very deliberate in my word choice. If you look at the current evidence, there is missing matter. There is essentially things are moving in the universe.
How much missing matter?
At this point,
a lot.
Oh, good Lord, a lot.
2/3 of all matter is missing. Isn't it like 2/3 of all matter is missing?
Higher than that, I think.
I heard it was like 95 or 94%.
Yeah, that's energy. That's dark energy you're counting if you get that high.
Oh, dude, yeah. Can we do a brief the difference between that whole situation? Because that's another big one where I'm just like, all right, it's clearly a lie.
I could talk for hours on those subjects, but what just to finish off my point with dark matter is that there are too many instances where there are objects in the universe moving at a rate that is inconsistent with the amount of luminous matter that we can see.
So stars,
gas, and so forth. And so there has to, if gravity is correct, if our understanding of gravity is correct, then there needs to be more mass there in order to account for the velocities that we're seeing. Now, what is this dark matter? And what when we refer to it as dark matter because it is non-luminous. We don't see it. We don't see it. It does not emit light in any wavelength that we can currently detect. So I kind of lost where I was going with that. But so when the over-under on that, I think you asked what the over-under on dark matter is. I'd say that it's very, very high that missing matter exists. Now, when it comes to, because the alternative is that our theory of gravity needs to be really redone, which is a possibility.
I have a question real quick. If your theory of gravity, if it's like possible that it could need to be redone, but all your calculations are, appear to be correct, I mean, how do you know aside from what you're told about, the stuff that's in space that supposedly allegedly measures it?
I don't know if I understand.
Yeah. I would say that if the theory of gravity is incorrect, and that is why dark matter is being observed, then, which is a possibility, there are many serious scientists looking into that.
Dude, thank you for admitting it, man.
Yeah, it's a serious possibility. What that would mean, though, but we have to understand what that would mean. What that would mean is all of the measurements that we've done on Earth are still correct. The way that gravity is holding down the air is still correct. The way that Cavendish experiment shows and measures gravity is still correct. But there's a detail that occurs on astronomical scales that we do not observe here when we do those measurements. It's very much like how when Einstein created general relativity that was more detailed than Newton's theory of gravity, right? It had to be that when Einstein's equations are solved for the conditions here on Earth, they have to match. If they don't match our current measurements, they're no good, right? And our current measurements are correct because we measure them over and over and over Like, just get out of scale, just step on your scale and measure your weight, right? That's got to still work. Otherwise, the new theory is no good. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
So when we overturn Einstein, when we eventually overturn Einstein with a new theory of gravity, it has to be backward compatible.
Yes.
If it's not backward compatible, then we need somebody to seriously explain to us all of these measurements that we've been taking and how we've been fooled for the past 100 years of measurements. And, when we talk Einstein, you and I have not taken those measurements, right? So maybe they're all lying to us. And so I'll grant you that. Maybe they're all lying to us. But as far as Newton, no, we've been doing those ourselves. I've checked that one. A lot of people check that one, and that one checks out. So
what part of the Einstein stuff checks out? Like what kind of stuff do you measure with? Or like, is that tell me how you apply that information of relativity, because that's something that I'm not that I'm curious about, that I don't fully understand. So can you tell me about that?
You have any thoughts about that? I mean, there's
all right.
There's pages and pages, but I'm talking too much.
So, all right. So one of the things that actually can be done, that is something that is doable by non-scientists, as it were, is the Eddington experiment. Granted, you have to basically, all right. So Eddington was the first demonstration that general relativity was consistent with observations. So what Eddington did was that he knew that a solar eclipse was going to occur on a particular island at a particular date. And so what he did was that he went to that island prior to that, and he looked at the night sky and he took measurements of the distances between the stars in that night sky. And then he came back during the eclipse. And so now you have that pattern of stars in the night sky, or in the sky, and now you have the sun located basically dead center in that field. If the eclipse weren't happening, then you wouldn't be able to see those stars because the sun is so bright. But because the eclipse occurred and the sun's brightness was, eclipsed, the nighttime, those stars were able to be seen again. And so he redid those measurements. And what he found was that the distances between those stars during the eclipse were not the same distance he measured outside of the eclipse. And that's really the only not only, but the best explanation for that is that light is bending. Is essentially the light is bending, and so that is changing the apparent placement of those stars in the night sky. During the eclipse, the distances actually got larger. That's gravitational lensing. That's what we refer to as gravitational lensing. Anyone can do, and actually anyone can, in this experiment, very much like Cavendish, has been repeated. Anyone with a properly shielded telescope, with a CCD camera, and has basically the ability to go where a solar eclipse is going to happen, can do this experiment and replicate the results. I was actually going to be a part of a group who was attempting to do it during the Great North American Eclipse, but unfortunately our site got clouded out. We ran into some financial issues, but
that sucks, man.
But yeah, so that's a clear piece of example.
Because I was under arrest at the time.
Oh, dude, touch on that real quick.
I wasn't that. I just wanted to interject that I missed the darn eclipse, if you can believe it, because I was handcuffed in the subway station. And that freaking but I took it. It's fine. I didn't do it. They let me go. It was a bank robber. They thought I was a bank robber. I'm not kidding. You probably think
That's
I'm
hilarious.
totally lying and just making crap up now. No one's going to believe that story. But
definitely going to want to hear that at some point later on. But yeah,
I was in the metro station at 7th Street and just making my connection, and the cops figured I looked like the bank robber, and By the time they sorted out that I was not the bank robber, I was in the metro station seeing the stupid eclipse, and I missed it.
That's a fantastic story. Not a fantastic thing that happened to you, but a fantastic story.
Yeah.
And it happens on the one day you're trying to look at something. That's insane.
Yeah,
wasn't meant to be, man. We're meant to see it.
But I did get to see the Mercury. I got to see the transit of Mercury, which was not long after I got to see that. So that was nice. But yeah, I wanted to see if we could talk about some things you could do by yourself.
Yeah.
To find out for yourself who you should be trusting, right? Because I doubt you're gonna do an eclipse observation and verify special relativity. I doubt you're gonna go down to MIT and see them verify that gamma rays shift frequency on the way up compared to the way down. You
don't have access to an atomic clock that's being flown at high altitude.
Right. There's been many scientific experiments on this, but we're looking for something that Alan can trust, something that Alan can see and understand and verify for himself. Alan, do you have any ideas on that?
Dude, to be for real with you, I haven't even thought of doing that kind of comparison because I was so distrustful to all of this. It didn't even matter at a certain point, so I'll definitely look into that.
And
or if you have some suggestions of stuff.
Again, I think that is something for all of us to hear and really internalize and understand.
Dude, yeah, I've been going through quite a process in the week leading up to this. I've been doing, like, I had to I had to admit a lot of stuff because I didn't want to come on here and be like, present some shit that I don't know about, So I'm just I had to completely change gears, and for the better, because no one wants to deal with someone that has that kind of attitude,
Right.
So
yeah, I mean, I looked through the videos that you shared with me, and just summarize them for the audience. They're they're conspiracy stuff, and they're like cables on the astronauts in the ISS, or
cables, harnesses, weird video glitches that would be consistent with people not being in the same. Yeah, you get it. Yeah,
that kind of thing. And it really highlighted for me that same thing that you just said, which is that this isn't about me making an observation and finding that the Earth is flat. This is about me seeing something sketchy that I don't trust, and I don't trust these people. And on the other hand, I have somebody that I can relate to. I have, you mentioned Taboo Conspiracy as somebody you can relate to, right?
Yeah. He presents all this stuff very genuinely,
right? Yeah. And that is what I think. I think that sums up flat Earth right there. I think that there's that disconnect that I would like to try to repair. And I would say just simple logic, a little bit of simple logic. What if the moon landings were all completely faked? What if the ISS and every image you ever saw from ISS was completely faked? Would that mean that the Earth is flat?
Well, that's a fair question. And,
can't fake images on a flat Earth, or maybe I could fake images on a globe Earth too.
That's fair, but that's where the misunderstanding of what you were saying about the reference frame mentions in the manuals and stuff. So it's like when you're skeptical of what's presented, and then you get something that you can read in layman's terms, and you're like, well, there it is right there. Like, these people just don't, So right. I don't know. I don't know, man. I mean, like I said, you guys are clearly doing stuff and have measurements, and it checks out. But I just can't trust, the verification of it, rather. And to me, it doesn't matter, if it's spinning or flat. because I don't notice either one in my life. You know what I mean? So it doesn't.
Absolutely correct.
So
yeah, you don't.
But yeah, and it's a yeah. You guys you're right.
You don't, and that's cool. And ultimately, yeah, you just have to trust somebody. And
yeah, well, it's a fun experiment that people can get involved in. Sorry to cut you off. Like the laser lake measurements and stuff like that. It's a fun thing that people can do to get involved in that don't trust, what people are saying about. Well, it's verified by the thing that
Right.
that we sent out that's been working perfectly fine for 60 years and doesn't need any updates.
Let me remind you of that red flag again.
Yeah.
The red flag, one of the red flags you should keep in your pocket. There's a few that you should keep with you at all times. If you want to be a true skeptic, like you truly want to be skeptical.
Yep.
If the other point of view is not represented, red flag. Red flag should go up.
Yeah.
I will not trust anybody who refuses to invite counterpoint.
Dude, I'm with you, dude. That's why I'm here, man.
If you get a bunch of flat earthers with a laser gonna go shoot it across the water, and they don't have a single glober with them, they have never asked a glober for their comment on that, then, and I'll tell you right now, they did not. The reason I know they did not is because every glober will tell you, don't shoot a laser over water. That test doesn't work. And we will explain to you in great detail why that test does not work. Right? And because it can often show the flat result. And we know that it does that, and we know why.
Why? Oh, the refraction you said?
Yeah. Very good.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
You know that. And there's the red flag.
I'm still trying to do the switch where you showed me the thing. Okay.
You know why it doesn't work, and yet you do it. That should be a major red flag.
Interesting. Hadn't thought of that. I want to answer Psycho Muffin's question about why so quick to trust him. Is the people that I trust, they don't present it in an attacking way. They're just like, hey, went out. It seems so much more genuine and honest that it doesn't have this the what I call the beast system attached to it, where it's just this, where it comes from. Well, a NASA satellite rocket verified it, and like you have to trust it now, because there's a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense. Like to touch real quick on the Mars thing that just happened recently, is I watched the video. They're showing you a simulation of what the landing would look like, and they got their telemetry data, so it all checks out. But they didn't show what an actual landing would look like, and they say that they were gonna post an update or whatever and show the actual footage, and they never did.
No, they did. I watched it.
Did they? Oh, can you link that? I haven't seen the follow up to it, or just tell me what.
Yeah, they put a camera on this one. They don't normally do that, but they put a camera.
Dude, see, why wouldn't they put it
down?
Yeah, okay.
And you go check it out.
Okay, where's the?
I don't know. I mean, I have to Google it again.
Gotcha, Mars.
The day it was released.
Dude, good call.
Was a camera on Perseverance as it was falling?
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Okay.
Good call. I'll watch it after. I wasn't aware that they did update it. My bad.
I guess NASA was listening.
I think so. Anybody in the chat can back me up. Am I crazy? Did I dream that? Yeah. Dem Jezza says they did actually show the actual landing. And Alan, I would remind you again.
It's not like I'll trust it, but I'll definitely go check it out.
We just have different worldviews. We have different groups that we trust.
Yeah, right? For sure.
And I do trust the folks at JPL. There's one of the kids in my daughter's school, her dad works there, right? And JPL is right down the street from me. So we go there sometimes. They used to do public tours every year. They don't anymore. Why not? Because it was too popular. It was so popular, it created a traffic jam on the freeway. That is how many people.
Well, to be fair, in LA, it's not hard to create a traffic jam.
Well, yeah, that's true. But yeah, it's not. But yeah. So that's where I'm coming from. Is you can just go and you can check it out for yourself. You can go and see it. You can talk to these people and hobnob or whatever. And so I am super biased. You're going to have to check me at all the times. I trust them, right? I trust them, and you don't. And so that's just different starting points.
Yeah.
Kind of going with the.
But yeah, I guess where I was going with that was when Taboo's conspiracy says that they're lying. Taboo conspiracy says that, my friends, literally some of them are my friends, are liars.
Same.
Yeah, that's not nice, right? That maybe that came off as nice to you.
Oh, dude, yeah, I feel you, man. Okay, yeah, I hadn't considered that side of it, how you would perceive it, because you believe it, and a little more insight about the refraction thing, which I agree you did show, and
yeah, I did a really crappy demo that I would not trust. That I should definitely tell you, don't trust that demo I did with the glasses. But if you want to see a real demo, I can get you one of those.
Yeah, for sure. Please do. And
and from my perspective, you have the entire Oakley group who would tell me, who actually Quantum Racer in chat did tell me to my face that I'm not a scientist, that astronomy is not a science.
Yeah, well, people can get arrogant over the internet and talk shit that they wouldn't say to someone's face, So, because I don't believe you, but I would never call you. I mean, not that I don't. I believe that you're measuring stuff, like I said, but I wouldn't be like, you're not a scientist to your, like, that's not. That's But yeah, that's why I don't watch those guys, because they get super theatrical with it, and it's just no one's learning anything. You're just repeating the same thing, and anyway. Yeah.
To kind of follow up on what Science was talking about with red flags, and I know this is not something that you would really have access to, but one of the things that when you read scientific literature, when you actually read the literature itself, invariably what happens in the conclusion section, or data discussion section, I should say, is that they will make a positive claim, and then they will run through some list of, what about this? Is it this? No, it's not that because of this. Is it this? No, because of these rationales. They will present basically alternate theories or alternate ideas as to what is going on to explain their observations, and then they will refute them in the discussion, and essentially invite the public to read their paper and judge it upon themselves. So the red flag that I think Science was talking about is when I see videos like the laser test across the lake or what have you, or possibly even the hologram, they will make the observations, they will have a conclusion, and then that's it. They will essentially stop asking questions. They will not ask whether or not there is some other conflating variable that could explain what they are seeing. And that's the red flag, is if someone is trying to posit evidence and does not even consider that what they're seeing could be explained by something else, they're not being honest. They're not being genuine.
Right.
Fair enough. That's why
that one you've mentioned, we see too far. There's many, many, many videos where they talk about we see too far. Now, with that in mind, what Rob just said, how far is too far? And they say, okay, we see too far for it to be a globe. That's what they'll say. Have you ever seen that same person say, how far would we see if it were flat?
No, but I have
Why
heard.
Is it that they're not judging the same image that proves it's not a globe to ask, does it also prove it's not flat?
Fair point.
And they never do until you go over to the debunker channels, and then you'll see that every time.
Dude, I go to the debunker channels because that's like the first thing you do. And those guys, all their presentations just make me angry, because none of them are, or maybe it's just the ones that I've watched, but it's like, they're not even, I've seen people debate stuff that no one even claims that I've seen.
Yeah.
Just straight up, not even an argument I've ever encountered. And I've got a lot of, quote unquote research time in the videos of the people, the claims that are made about flat Earth. And you know, so you just get a sense of it being falsely represented. So you don't even whatever they say about their answer to refraction and stuff, you're just like, you're like, who cares? You already came at it from an angle that is dishonest, in my opinion. And whether or not they do it intentionally, you know, who knows? But
well, it's hard to say.
Yeah.
I mean, there are so many crazy claims out there of every different possible variety that they're probably debunking some claim that really was made somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
It probably doesn't apply to you, right?
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah. And a lot of the debunking is very showmanship.
It's very,
dude, it's super showmanship, man. It's crazy.
And there are entire channels, as we've mentioned, that are devoted entirely to people shouting at each other.
Yeah, and dude, it's nuts.
On YouTube is what
it's a fucking it's just people taking and giving their energy to nothing. It's crazy.
I just saw, and I've completely blanked on the gentleman's name. He was on, the segment was on the plot hole, and basically he was saying that I have a unpopular opinion that I would like to share. And his unpopular opinion is that Fight the Flat Earth is the Nathan Oakley of the globe side. That Fight the Flat Earth is as disingenuous as Nathan Oakley is. And so, and his point of view, and this gentleman's point of view, I really wish I could remember his name. His point of view was, yes, there are bad actors on both sides of this debate. And I think that's the thing. What science and I really would like to see tackled is to really actually have genuine conversations about these topics and try to come under some understanding of where we're all coming from.
Yep, I agree with that.
Yeah, dude, you guys are taking a step in the right direction, man. Like I saw, you know, I went through your comments and stuff, and you were replying to people. I kind of vetted you, and I was like, well, this, you know, he's genuine in his claim about, you know, we're not here to start a negative energy battery or something, and you know, have everyone fighting over stuff that they, you know, half the people don't understand, or they're operating on information that you're not aware of, you know. So yeah, I think you're doing good, man.
Well, that's what I'm trying to do. I don't think it's ever going to be as popular.
No, dude, it's going to be for such a specific amount of people, but the people that it reaches will be super appreciative, dude.
That was always my hope. And I'll keep repeating this story. Is when I first started, I thought that flat earthers were, you know, because obviously I believe in the globe. So I thought that flat earthers just didn't know better. That's what I thought. They just don't know. I'll just tell them. And then
I used to believe it too. Like, that's what led me.
That's not how it works at all. That's not how it works at all. You just explained. I think you explained to our audience better than I ever could how flat Earth works. And the way it works is that I don't trust these people. I have no way to know whether they're telling me the truth or not. And for whatever reason, through my experiences in my life, I don't trust them. And there's somebody else who offers an alternative. And that sounds really good. And so what I hope to achieve is to remind the remind team science that we're losing the trust of people. And that's something that we should all be really aware of.
And this moves beyond. Go ahead, Alan.
Oh, I was going to say, and I don't even know it's something that you could repair, because there's forces that are operating outside of science that make us distrust everything. And you know, so it you know, I don't know if there's anything that you could do, or like the science community, because it comes from a place that isn't even, you know, it comes from the people that make the fake money that pays for all this stuff.
Yeah, it does go super deep. There's a lot to it. So we should probably wrap it up pretty soon. Do you have any ideas of some things maybe you could pursue Because what I want you to do, what I'm inviting you to do, right? I'm inviting everyone to do is to find out whether I'm trustworthy or not, right? I will put that out there. I will say, I make some claims, and I think you can find out for yourself whether those claims are true. And you ought to do that for both sides. You ought to say, where does the sun go at night? Right? Where does the sun go? Does it circle over the North Pole? Or does it go around the globe? That's something you can figure out for yourself. You might need to dig a little bit. Like the usual follow-up is it just perspective? It doesn't go down. It just looks like it goes down because of perspective. Well, there are laws of perspective. There are rules about what perspective does. Compare what you see against those rules and see which of us is closer to the truth. Does it match perspective or not? Just do that. That anybody can do that, right?
Yeah.
Or how about horizon always rise to eye level? Does the horizon always rise to eye level?
It seems to, yeah.
It seems to. How hard have you tested it? How far down do the globe people say it should be?
Oh, I don't have any exact figures on that, but yeah,
Where
okay.
the science nerds, where the science peoples, where do they say it should be? And then figure out a way to measure if it really is. And if it's not where the science people say it should be, is it closer to where the flat earth people say it should be? Test them both. You got to test both, right? Is it closer to this or is it closer to that? And that's something that everybody can do. Once we're getting on airplanes again, anyway, get on an airplane and a cell phone, and you can answer that question. Or if you live near a mountain, particularly a mountain near the ocean, which I don't know where you live, but I'm in LA and we can do this, right? I've done this one myself. You make a water tube, right? You make a water tube and you line up the two water levels and you look, and is the water level above the water or is it below the water or is it right at the water? And just go look. Because many of the flat earth people will tell you that the horizon rises to eye level. I'm telling you that it does not. So find out who's telling you the truth, and you got to do at least like 3 of these experiments before you really convince yourself that this is a consistent pattern. But yeah, that's how you find out who's telling you the truth. Don't just go by discernment, right? Discernment is a flat earth word I've learned recently. One of my other friends taught me that.
That one's new on me.
Yeah, that's a word. Alan, I heard you use the word tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like a word. And that
the ability to intuitively just know if something's true. And I guess I mean you're making a fair point about it. You're making a fair point about it.
Yeah, I've never used it, heard in this context. One of the, just kind of following up on this, one of the claims that flat Earths make, because obviously, I like me some telescopes, is the idea that an object will go over the curve, but you can zoom in and bring it back. That is an incorrect statement. I don't believe any person on the globe side of the argument is going to say that if you were to watch the boat go over the horizon and then disappear, that it has gone completely behind the curve. Because if it had, then you could not zoom in and actually see it, because obviously you can see it. It hasn't completely gone over the curve. So what I would like to see is basically look at a ship going over the horizon, and with a zoom camera or what have you, and pay particular close attention to the amount that is hidden by the boat, or that is hidden by the water. it will appear to be it'll appear to be disappearing from the bottom up. I don't believe that anyone is claiming otherwise.
No, I don't, not that I know of.
And so even as it gets smaller, and even as you have to keep zooming, what you're going to notice is the amount that is being hidden by the water, or the amount that's just disappearing, is continually getting larger and larger and larger. More of the boat is getting hidden as the boat gets further away, regardless of how much zoom you have. And you're going to get to the point where essentially the entire boat is gone, regardless of how much zoom you have. So that's another way that you can sort of look at that. I mean, if you can explain, essentially, I have not done the experiment. That is what I anticipate you would see if you were to do the experiment. So if you do that experiment and that is what you see, then you can start asking yourself, okay, should I have trusted the Rob, or does the flat Earth have a better explanation as to why you see that particular event?
To follow up on your on what you said, I have seen some videos where like the hull of the ship is like at a noticeable thing where you can tell, like, you know, what part's being obfuscated. And then when it's, you know, and it's supposed to be at so and so distance, and then at 8 inches per mile squared or whatever, that it would that wouldn't work. Oh, dude, I see you guys work on that. Is there something there? Was there a misconception there?
It's just that's a phrase that is used only by flat earthers and flat Earth debunkers, as far as I know. Real people don't use that.
Yeah, from a mathematical perspective, if the 8 inches per mile squared does not give you a circle.
Well,
right. Well, that's what they say too. Like, they're not arguing that it's a circle.
It's a really good estimate. It's a very, very good estimate for the first several hundred miles, at least, I think. So it's
right.
good. It doesn't tell you what you think it tells you. Is what I find, that when flat earthers invoke 8 inches per mile squared, they usually are talking about how much I should not be able to see of that boat. Right?
Yes.
The boat should be, according to 8 inches per mile squared, that boat should be 60 feet below the water.
Yeah.
But it's only 20 feet below the water. Something like that.
Okay.
Right.
Fair enough.
8 inches per mile squared does not give you the hidden amount. It gives you the dropped amount. And you can't see drop. You see hidden.
So when you say normal, like, you know, you don't use the 8 inches per mile stuff, what are those online calculators for, to calculate? Like, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like, what are those even for then?
There's a handful of them. And there are some that are favored by certain groups because they give you that number. But you just go to the Metabunk one, or Walter Bislin's is absolutely brilliant. If you've ever been to Walter Bislin's calculator, it's fantastic. And I like the Metabunk one also because it has a diagram. The Metabunk one has a diagram right on the page that shows you what everything is. And you can see the drop. It'll give you the drop number, but it'll also show you what that means. And there's a diagram that explains why that's not really what you usually want.
I will also plug Walter Bislin for another reason. He has done something that I wanted to do, and then it was like, oh, you did it and did it better. He actually has taken the consensus, as it were, of what the flat Earth model is. The relative heights of the sun and the moon, the distances involved, so forth and so on. And he's actually created a flat Earth model, which is predictive. And what he has found, what you can find when you look at it, is that it fails. If you assume that the sun is at a certain height, then the irradiance that you would have is not what you see on the Earth, that the temperatures are not the same as you would see on the Earth, so forth and so on.
Interesting. So, who made that model? Who did you say?
Walter Bislin.
Walter. Okay, I thought that was something else. Okay. Yeah, I put that on there.
Or Walter Bislin. I think his website
is Bislin. 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 Yes. I think that's right.
Cool. I will check that out after the
Yeah, obviously he's a glober, so
yeah.
I want to encourage you to bring your salt shaker, because you're going to need a grain of salt, right? Right?
Yeah.
Because I recognize that's where you're coming from, is you don't necessarily trust these stuff, and there's going to be some math. We're going to encounter math here.
Oh, dude, no.
Right? But yeah, 8 inches per mile squared is a good approximation of the drop. But is the drop really what you're looking for, or don't you mean how much of the boat is hidden? How much how much of it is below the curve, really, is the question. And your first inclination is probably, isn't that the same thing? But the clue is, can you see farther if you go up high? If you go up to the top of a mountain, you can see farther, right?
Yep.
8 inches per mile squared does not include the viewer height, right? There's
a formula I've seen where they use that does calculate where your height is, because they'll measure stuff like, the camera is 6 inches off the ground kind of thing. So there is a formula for that, but I don't know. I don't know off the top of my head, but I've seen it.
Right.
I've seen them use it.
They mostly use the curve calculators.
I've seen Ben use the one with the height too, though, to be But anyway.
And that's cool. And they usually, I'm going to be honest. I'm all about honesty. They will usually, when I say they, I mean the flat Earth proponent.
You're
they
good.
Will show you a picture, and then they will use the curve calculator and show that more of the object is hidden than should be. Right. Some of them will deliberately ignore refraction, and they will say, "I'm not using refraction," and show that. And okay, the science people say you should use this amount of refraction to get a good estimate. Okay, but what they will not do, and I'll tell you, they will not, is compare it against the flat Earth projection. The flat Earth prediction. If you find one of them that says, if it was flat, it should look like this. If it was a globe, it should look like this. Which is it? If they actually did that, then I would say that would be at least fair.
Yeah.
I know this is getting a bit late, but there are a couple things in the chat that I wanted to point to. So V. Thomas states, question everything. There's no such thing as objective truth. There are only narratives. Alan, would you believe, or do you subscribe to that?
No, there's things that are objectively true.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think that's an accurate statement. Like, am I holding, something in my hand? Like, that's, so that doesn't, or am I misunderstanding what he's saying, or, because, I mean, I don't think that something could be objectively true. I was just holding something. So
I think that I can understand that feeling that maybe everything is subjective, right?
Yeah.
What I often point out is I cannot prove you exist.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah, that gets into philosophy.
I could be having a fever dream right now where
Dude, that's some deep stuff. I like going down those rabbit holes too. Those are fun.
Right.
Well, that's the whole, we got Plato was one of the earliest examples of that. If basically reality is but shadows of people on a cave wall. So yeah, that's a whole different conversation. But I brought that up, the V. Thomas quote, because that is also something I've seen. You're talking about trust. You're talking about who can you trust and who can you not. And I think one of the things that I've encountered is the reason why people do not trust mainstream science is because of a belief that there is no objective reality. So I just wanted to see what your thoughts were on that,
Alan. Shit. So, I'm sorry. Can you say that again?
Oh,
I was reading the chat and I can't.
I've already kind of asked. I was wondering what your
idea
of, or what your belief on objective truth actually is. Is there objective truth?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, that's what I was just saying. I was holding something in my hand, and if you ask me, "Are you holding something in your hand?" It would be objectively true that I am, right? Or am I not understanding it?
Yeah, I'd go along with that too. Despite the fact that I can understand the point of view from somebody who says maybe there isn't, I operate under the presumption that everything that I see with my eyes is actually real. You know, and the things that I touch are actually there, and the measurements that I take are actually legit. Because, I mean, ultimately, I want to do the best I can at making decisions. This is where it comes down to for me, is I have decisions to make. At least I believe that I do. I believe that I'm making decisions about where to invest my money, or how to spend my time, or whether I should drive down the railroad track. And I believe that driving down the railroad tracks would be a bad decision. And that is based on my best understanding of how reality works, right? And so I want to know how reality works so that when I have an important decision, that I'll make a good one. Right. And that's what it comes down to for me. So I want my best grasp of objective reality to be well informed.
Totally, man. I agree.
I don't want to send my money to a Nigerian prince.
Oh yeah, dude.
Right. And I think we all know what that's about. And so what if, so on the one hand, maybe NASA is a bunch of Nigerian princes. On the other hand, maybe the flat earth YouTubers are a bunch of Nigerian princes.
Dude, I think it's a combination of both, dude, to be honest with you.
Maybe it's somewhere, some combination.
Because I think, I think it's designed to be a system where both will exist and feed each other.
Right. And so what I keep doing, and that's what I do on my channel, really, and I've done it over and over and over, is try to challenge the science, try to challenge the question, and find out what is really true. When I can do it by myself, or when I can, logic my way through it, I math my way through it, or I can do an observation on my own and just see. And so far, I'm biased, so you need to make your own choice. But so far, what I found is that these science guys are right, and I haven't caught them yet. I haven't caught them being incorrect ultimately yet, in what is modern, right? There's plenty of old stuff that you can find is not true anymore. But I haven't found anything yet myself.
And really, if we're talking about being honest and holding people, and this is kind of maybe opening a giant can of worms, but gravity itself is tricky. There are, as science pointed out earlier in the conversation, there is an active research to try to figure out or try to overturn relativity, because there are certain cracks in our knowledge, particularly related to the Big Bang and possibly what came before it, that relativity can't answer.
That's where I check out.
And there's the whole, there's the whole dark energy debate. But if the other thing is, and this is sort of a red flag that I want to bring in, is if anyone tells you that science can prove anything, they're trying to sell you something. No observation, no scientific endeavor is going to prove without a reasonable doubt and beyond all doubt this is the case. We can say with high degrees of certainty that these are that the Earth is round, that we exist in a galaxy which is observable out to 13.7 billion years. We can say that with fairly high certainty, but we always have to keep in mind that we can be wrong. And that is one of the red flags I see with the flat Earth community, is that they never say that. They never stay. As far as they will go is they will make the argument, I can't prove to you that the Earth is flat. I just know with beyond a shadow of a doubt that it's not a globe. And
I've adopted that philosophy as well. Yeah, you're right.
So that
Right.
I would my advice is
Good observation, dude.
Then my advice would be to reevaluate that certainty, because from the mainstream science perspective, we are never absolutely certain about anything. We are confident about a lot, but we're not certain about anything.
Sometimes we say that we are, right?
Yeah.
Keeping in mind that there's there's ways of speaking. We speak sometimes with a conviction that is not deserved, right?
I know I'm guilty of that occasionally.
Yeah.
Probably more often than not.
That's a really good point. And I don't remember who it was. One of the Globers actually brought this up, and I thought it was really genius. And think about this. You've always heard, "I don't see the curve," right?
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever heard of anyone try to measure how flat it is? Because it's like, oh, it's totally flat. I looked at the horizon was totally flat. Really? How flat?
Yeah.
And that usually just ends the conversation, because the flat earther has never even conceived that there is such a thing as a way to measure flatness. Right? Can we measure flatness? No, it's flat. Right? Is usually the answer. There's no curve. What do you mean? Well, no, I want you to measure it. I want a number, right? I want you to actually take a measurement and show me that it is too flat to have been a globe. Nice. And that's what we're asking for.
Right? Yeah. We can give you the radius of the Earth with error bars. So what we're asking for is give us flatness with error bars.
Dude, I hope someone that's able to provide that kind of thing hits you guys up. Be interesting to see what the result is, but as you've said, they just avoid it or don't do it. So
so far, yeah, and I will say we need to get wrapping up. I think I need to go to bed, but
yeah.
Rob, it's even later.
I'm joining this.
I have numerous times now, several times, I have had similar conversations with flat Earth people and gotten them to agree to do a particular test, to say, here's a test that we both agree should be able to tell the difference between globe and flat, that we can do. Let's do it. And so far, 0 of them have followed through. And I think that that's very, very telling. It tells me something about what's going on in their mind. So yeah, I would love, Alan, if you would pick one and we do it, you'd be number one.
Okay, you're saying if I can pick an experiment, you guys will do it?
Well,
is that what you said?
Do it. Probably.
Oh,
You need to participate. Otherwise, it's that red flag I was talking about. If you find a bunch of globers that go out and do a measurement and do not consult with the flat Earth folks about what that measurement means, I think that's the same. I can't hold you to a different standard than I would hold us to.
Yeah.
Right. So we need to agree. And this has been a real sticking point. I've been trying to talk to, I kind of lost touch a bit with Rachie, a flat earther by the name of Rachie. I was talking to her about trying to come up with a way to make a test. Let's design a test and let's do it. The hard part has been getting to an agreement of what that test would be before we do the test. I want to, before we do the test, we decide what the test means. Kind of like when we hear Bob say, we hear Bob say that if this gyro says 15 degrees per hour, that means the Earth is rotating. And then they did the test and they say it did give 15 degrees per hour, right? And again, to his absolute credit, he came out and he said it, right? He told everybody it didn't go the way we wanted, and so now we're looking for alternate explanations, right? So yeah, that's what I want to do. And if Rachie watches, Rachie, I want to do that with. I would like to get an agreement from you that this will definitively prove that it's relative density, and then we'll do that. Yeah. Rachie's coming from, I think, a similar place to Alan, honestly, which is there's so much science. There's so much of it. How could anyone possibly absorb that?
Yeah. Oh, dude, and you know what else doesn't help either is that someone over at YouTube or whoever's in charge of that stuff decided that it would be really cool to just like start censoring people. So that adds an element of, because we're already in the realm of like not trusting these people, and then like, oh, okay, so you're just gonna censor this guy because of his opinions and like,
well,
and you know what I mean. Yeah. So it kind of
I do. It's a double-edged sword, though.
Yeah.
And from my point of view, I have never seen YouTube censor someone for flat Earth.
Oh, dude, I've seen it tons.
I have heard these reports, and when I investigated, I always discovered that there was something else that person said that was specifically against the rules. We discussed some things. I emailed you earlier, some things we can't talk about.
Yeah. And
that's the reason. And it's not flat Earth, because we're here talking about flat Earth, and they're not going to censor us.
Yeah. No, it wouldn't censor us talking about this, like, having this discussion, and then also, you being an authoritative source. I'm telling you, dude, I've seen it. Like, believe it or not, like I'm sure some people will have like deleted their own channel or did something where it was their fault or something. But I've seen cases where I didn't experience that, and then they're just all of a sudden catching strikes and stuff over stuff. So.
Okay.
Well, they catch strikes, right?
And they have to be catching strikes for some reason.
That should tell you everything you need to know, right? You do not get a strike for talking about flat Earth.
Let's not get into YouTube policy, because it's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah. The only thing I will really say is be careful not to confuse promotion with censorship, in the sense that for example, the Facebook does something that I really don't like, and I think is as bad as what YouTube does in a way, in that Facebook will promote information that it thinks you want. And so
there's that aspect too. That's a crazy.
And so what YouTube has done, as far as I know, is that it stopped that algorithm. And so it appears as if flat Earth content is being censored, but what is actually happening is that it's no longer being promoted. Yeah. And so there is a distinct difference between those two. There's a difference between not promoting something and actively censoring it.
I would say that your distinct difference is, like, I see what you're saying, but in my personal experience with people that I've seen have their stuff deleted, I mean, and I know I don't agree that that choosing to not promote it because it's not an authoritative source, or I wouldn't agree that that's not censorship. I'm pretty sure that is.
It's a philosophical question.
Yeah, right. You're right.
I think
I just wanted to
summarize it, though, to say, if you are a conspiracy-minded individual, you're certainly likely to see YouTube censoring people. And if you are skeptical of conspiracies, you'll probably see it a different way, right? And I think we'll see a strong correlation between flat Earth and conspiracy. Right?
Most definitely, yeah.
So who's right and who's wrong? That is, that is something we would have to collect a bunch of empirical evidence, I would say, to come down either way on.
One thing, I don't want to get this into conversation, but I just want to acknowledge Mandela in the comments. He said that, I think his quote was something of the effect of, we seem to be very intelligent. So why is it that we believe? How can we possibly believe that the Earth is not flat? I would very much like to have that discussion with you at some point in some medium. Obviously, not this evening, but yes. I thank you for the compliment, but I have lots to say on that subject. So,
something I said probably the last time I was talking to Rob, but I do like to point out is that actual academics have done actual studies on whether there is a correlation between alternative science and intelligence, and there is not. So the actual experts have found that very bright people, very intelligent people are excellent at twisting the data to match their preconceived ideas. So whichever side you're on, give the other side just a bit of credit to understand that there are very smart people on the opposite side as well who just believe so strongly in something that when they see a piece of data, they're able to twist it to somehow agree with them.
Yeah, fair. What's the word I'm looking for? A summary.
Yeah, it's not because people are stupid. Whichever side you're on, the other side is not stupid people. Right, and saying that is, I think, a big part of the problem, and thinking it is a part of the problem. Is when we say we can dismiss these people, oh, they're stupid, right? The people on the other side of whatever aisle, pick your issue, whether it's baseball or football or whatever issue it is. When we see the other side as less than us, less valuable, less intelligent, less whatever, or it's dehumanizing, and that's not right.
Yeah, and it's beside the art. It's attacking the person, not the points. Someone's intelligence has no bearing on whether or not the Earth is objectively flat or not. And so, to me, it's counterproductive to the discussion, is commenting on someone's intelligence level. And intelligence is a problematic subject entirely anyway.
Yeah.
So,
dude, I would like to. I know we agreed about the thing that he asked about. Psycho, if you want to talk about that, I can talk to you off. You can have me on Discord or something. I can give you some insights onto that.
Yeah, and I asked the guys not to talk about like virus-related content.
Yeah,
because YouTube feels very strongly about that material.
Dude, they feel real strong.
And, the crossover that has caused hits for flat Earth people, I don't want that here. So that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about shape of the Earth, how to do science in general, that kind of stuff. And so we don't need to go into those other things.
Yep. Yeah. But like I said, if you want my opinion on that, we can discuss that off of this.
Yep. Let's put Alan, you want to put your YouTube link or any other links you want to share?
Oh yeah, I don't really have any, like, I don't make videos or anything. I'm just some caveman on the internet,
So, contact you if you want to talk about.
Oh yeah, if they want to talk. Okay, yeah. So just go to my YouTube. I have like one video up. Just comment there, and then if you want to talk on,
if you go and toss your link into the private chat, I'll copy it into the comments for everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, folks can find me at Rob Parks YouTube, and if you want to just email me directly, it's robworld762@gmail.com.
Dude, the only video I have on my channel is a thing that we agreed not to talk about. The only video, man, the only video. So I'll leave my Discord ID, and then if you guys, if they have Discord, they can add me, and we'll talk about it.
Oh yeah, Science. Do you have Discord?
I just made one. I haven't really used it, but yeah, I guess I should. I was invited to a flat Earth group on Discord, and I haven't really investigated that yet.
Huh.
So yeah, what is my Discord? I don't know. I'd have to go and find out. I'm sure it's I Can Science That.
All right. So that's my
oh,
that's
here
my
it is.
that's my Discord ID.
Boom.
Oh, all right.
And there's a YouTube here as well. Let me put this is Alan's Discord and Alan's YouTube.
What is my Discord?
Is that your video, Alan?
What's that?
This I'm about to link. Is that your video or your channel?
Oh, that's just my Discord ID. That's not a YouTube link.
Oh no, this is the mirrors thing. Did we link this before? This is the.
Oh no, I don't think you. I think you might have linked it for me. I'm
okay.
Not sure.
This is not Alan's. That is not Alan's. That is.
Oh yeah, that's Rob's wife. No, that's not mine.
Mirror.
Yeah. That's not me.
Okay. Yes. Right. And yeah, Alan. Let's answer this question. It seems to. This person. I'm sorry with your name, Kakani. I can pronounce that. Abhiram Kakani says it seems that people who deny the globe also deny other major aspects of science. If we take out the word deny and just say maybe don't trust, let's say people that don't trust the globe also don't trust other major aspects of science. Alan, is that true and fair?
That don't trust other. Yeah. Well, when it comes to stuff where you guys are like, all right, dude, we're 35 points behind a decimal with some zeros, and like that's where people are like, all right, man, like if you say so. But if it's like an observable, technology or whatever, most stuff I feel like you could use some algorithm to spoof data, to make it appear to whatever you need it to do to convince people of whatever, right? So
yeah,
so it's like, say you make a machine to like prove something, and it was like, well, what was pre-programmed in the machine, and it gets hard to discern how authentic what's being presented by science, even if it's something that you can see, let alone start to understand we're 30 points behind a decimal and stuff, because like for an average person, like my education, I dropped out of high school in my senior year. I got my GED, and so that's the extent of like my math expertise. I can do. You want me to add some stuff up, subtract it, divide it? Like I'll get the calculator out, figure it out for you. But when you're talking about like that kind of stuff, it's a wrap for trying to convey that in a mathematical way, I guess. I'd say for someone like me.
Quick, can we do a quick quiz round with you, Alan?
Sure.
Do vaccines cause autism?
Vaccines cause autism.
I was thinking yes or no question. I don't want to get into it. I just want to, or we can move on. All right. How about this? Climate change.
Let's just not talk about
Rob. If you're curious, bro, we could talk about it because I don't want to get you guys.
No, it's going towards Ibrahim's Abraham. I'm sorry, butchered your name. Going towards the statement where there is a cross section between the flat Earth community and the anti-vaccination community, the climate change isn't real, denier community, 5G skeptics. There is an intersection between these folks. I was thinking that, and so that my ill thought out quiz would find out where you were on that intersection.
Because not only do I think that, like I can explain why. So.
Yeah. I think we could
I'll
say
be wrong.
Alan is a conspiracy guy, maybe. Is that fair?
Yeah, no, there's nothing, like I don't have any shame of my personal beliefs or anything like that. And I appreciate that you we're saying not to say flat earth or whatever unless the person agrees with it. I'm not that sensitive, but I appreciate that you had that consideration for me. Because and I just wanted to point out by clarifying my position on the flatness, it's because there's a lot of subgroups and you get associated with a thing and it's like, look, man, I just got I just work here, dude. I guess got some questions and, some stuff that I can't figure out on my own. So.
All right. Well, I do want to start wrapping it up. So if you have more questions, keep them coming. We'll keep doing answers, and maybe we'll get together again soon. If you choose any experiments that you could do or observations you could make, share with us. And
and at the same time, if you have a simple thing that I could test or something, and if it's under $50, I could swing it. But
there's tons, actually.
because dude, I was thinking about buying that mirror scope thing and a laser thing because I wanted to check out that thing that Cami was presenting. Because to me it made sense, that it disproves it. But if you're saying it doesn't, then I don't know, and I can't get any knowledge from that. So,
if you buy the thing, one of the things the flat Earth people like to do is show that the moon is cold.
Yeah. Dude, I didn't want to bog you down with a bunch of that kind of stuff because
that's cool.
But some of that stuff was on my list of questions.
You could do the moon is cold. It's fun. It's a fun experiment because you could have that experience complete. You could start with the moon is cold, and then I'll tell you something else to try, and then you would prove that, I don't know, we could prove all kinds of crazy stuff with it, and then we could explain why that's happening, and then you're like, oh, and you're like, oh,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, the temperature of the moon experiments, that is a great example of folks not accounting for conflating variables, not taking into account, what are the conditions that their experiment is not controlled, shall I say.
Right.
Yeah.
Although,
dude, that's what we got to. Yeah.
I saw one. I'm not going to mention his name because I'm going to be mean. Who I'm pretty sure was deliberately conflating the variables pretty blatantly, right? It was, let's do the cold moonlight experiment, only we'll use a reflective backing surface and aim at something else behind it, kind of.
What? Oh yeah, I'll know nothing about none of that.
And I was like, oh my gosh, that looks like, maybe he just got lucky and that's just how it happened to be, but it sure looked like they were doing that on purpose. Anyway,
yeah. Cool, man.
Let's follow up on that. If you find some things you'd like, I actually have a video that I did a long time ago that just lists out 20 experiments that you ought to be able to do, depending on where you live. That these are 20 suggestions of things that ought to be able to tell the difference between flat and globe, and all cost under $100. Actually, I think they're all literally free.
Nice. That's my favorite price.
Yeah.
Yep.
And there are things like, measure the size of the sun as it goes across the sky. Measure the size of the moon as it goes across the sky. Measure the angle of where the sunset is. Measure the angle of where the sunrise is. That kind of thing. Make a sundial. That all of these things that you can do. And actually, the easiest one, probably, and that one's really the easiest one. Is watch the sunset one day and just like try to compare that against what perspective does. And you may have to learn a little bit about what exactly perspective does. But I am telling you, it does not do what a flat Earth would do. I would do that one first. Triangulate some things in the sky. That's a good one. Look for the horizon to drop. That's a good one. I actually have on there, drive around and look at all the satellite dishes. Drive around your town and look at the satellite dishes. You might have to learn a little bit about satellite dishes to figure this out, but then ask the question, where are they pointing? What are they pointing at? If they're pointing at a radio tower, where is it? find the radio tower that they're looking at, or if they're bouncing off of something in the sky down to a radio tower on the ground, find it, right? Figure out what they're all pointing at, because us globe folks say they're pointing at a location above the equator. That's what we say. They're pointing at a location above the equator. So if you're in the northern hemisphere, they're all looking a little bit south. Is that true? Were they all looking a little bit south? Are they all looking at the same point? I suggest they are not all looking at the same point. They're looking at a handful of points that are all directly above the equator. And yeah, that ought to be easy. Drive around and see if that's true. Because those satellite dishes, they work. People are watching cable on those.
Yep.
So yeah. If they're pointing at a balloon, how does that work if the satellite dish doesn't move? Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Balloons don't hold still. We know that. It's not a balloon.
Right.
Could it be a satellite?
Well, slow down there.
Yeah.
Let's not get carried away, dude.
Yeah. So I'm saying I believe that it's a satellite, right?
Yeah.
Whatever you believe it is, test that belief. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Yep.
All right. So thank you very much. Thank you very much, Alan, for being here and sharing with us and being so friendly. And Rob, again, thank you for coming and giving your insights on this stuff.
Anytime. It was great.
Yeah, and we'll do another one of these soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it. And I can't believe we went for 3 hours and 30 minutes. Yeah, I hope it wasn't tedious or anything, but yeah, you guys shared some good insights and explanations to things that obviously weren't represented as true. But yeah, I had a good conversation. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
All right, thank you for being here. And if anybody else out there in the chat now wants to join in and do one of these, obviously not tonight because it's late, but drop a comment down there or something, and we'll set you up.
All right, man. I'm gonna head off of this.
Okay.
All right. Thanks. Have a good night, guys.
Good night.